blogs, man. I hate that I missed that era because it seemed like you found something that was not mainstream, you found gold, like you struck gold somewhere, you know what I mean? What made you want to start a blog?
I mean, I saw, there was 4Q, Church of Choppers, couple. I just thought I could do it,
Yeah.
I was buying and selling bikes at the time, mainly to Japan, and I was doing parts, and I thought, when no one was selling parts, this is way before like a chopper swapper even existed. So you'd have to go on eBay, or I thought, well, shit, I'll just hit all these swap meets. I was posting stuff from the swap meets, but way before anybody was kind of into that thing. So I'd put up there, parts for sale, bikes for sale, or if you have something to sell, send it, hit me up with it, and then I would post it for them. But what I was doing was I was buying probably 80% of the stuff from the people that were sending it to me. And then I put, fun stuff on there. There's, old movies, music, because you could do music. I had, clips of stuff. I mean, it's just like all the fun stuff we all like. I mean, it looked basically like a Dice magazine,
Yeah, because you're not dealing with like copyright infringement and stuff like you would be on YouTube.
No, not at all. So, I had music on there, pictures of old bikes that I'd found cut out of magazines or found on the internet. I mean, you name it, naked chicks, just fun stuff. It was fun for like 5 years. That thing was, I had millions and millions of views on that thing before, all this other stuff popped. That was a lot of people. I mean, it was fun. It was good.
I feel like, Facebook is what killed like chat rooms, blogs, a lot of that stuff. But the thing is that while, in some aspects it might have been better on Facebook, maybe it was more easy to get into it and you're already at the store. So just go check that aisle out right quick, right? But like you had mentioned right before we went on, it's like the desktop, like people don't get on a computer anymore. Like they do it off their phones. And some of these things are just better viewed through a laptop or a desktop.
For sure. I mean, that's what killed the blogger. They made a mobile version. I don't know what it looks like today, but you look at it, it's just not the same experience. You click on the other one, you see the whole screen. You got all your sidebar stuff, with links and all your buddies and all these other cool blogs, little photos everywhere. I mean, it looked good. You look at it on your phone, you're just seeing that one post, and if it interests you or not, you scroll on. But I mean, I've tried to revitalize it. But it's a lot of work. And then, like you said, just sitting in front of the computer. I mean, I could barely sit in front of the computer to fucking send people invoices for Born Free, much less,
do all that.
Yeah, you want to be on your phone. You know how it is. You wake up in the morning, I'm sure you're the same way. You get on your phone, you go to all your favorite things that you do, Facebook Marketplace, whatever, Instagram, do your 3 hours.
Routine scrolls.
I do the same thing. But that used to be with the blogs. That's what people did every single day. And then because I was posting stuff for sale, it was all cool chopper stuff, like just good stuff, not takeoff crap. Is people would be checking it, every minute someone would be looking at it to see, what popped up. And no one else was doing it. Like I said, those other blogs were killer and they had badass content, but no one had stuff you could actually buy. And then I started making shirts. It was Born Loser blog is what it was called.
Oh, okay.
So I made shirts. I mean, I made probably 30 different designs. I mean, I sold thousands of those damn things.
So would you say the blogs came first and then things like Chop Cult came along? Or was
there was Jockey Journal.
Okay.
And then there was like that, I told you that Fuck Choppers, which it's still maybe there somewhere. No one's doing it. It was this Nelson guy from the Centers that was doing it.
Yeah.
And it was like, you had to be approved to even get on there. And it was just all the cool chopper shit. And then there was Chopper Dave's. So Chopper Dave's blog, that was one of the early ones that was cool. So
his is still up. I've checked it out.
Church of Choppers, Chopper Dave, and Max's were like the early ones that were really cool. There's been many others that came after that, and after me too. I wasn't the first one doing it, but those were like the ones you went to. The Jockey Journal was going on, but that turned into too much of an argument place. Too much bullshit. People were getting on there, bagging on each other, arguing. Where the blogs, people didn't do that.
Yeah, you almost don't want to give people the option to interact because their first inclination is to say something, to take it down or one up it or like I don't know why that comes. I'm that way too. Like I see, oh that's wrong. I should say something like, oh wait, that's the internet. That's not. We don't do that.
No, my new thing. I mean, it's been like this for a while. Is I don't engage. I just it's a bad way to be because you should be able to say something, but it's like it's not worth it because no matter what people will disagree with you. I mean, it's 90 degrees outside right now, and someone will argue that it's 79 and not 90, even though it's 90. And that's how it is on those things. It's like, it is not worth it.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, and it doesn't matter what industry it is. Like I told you before, that even in the shop, the vintage world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just as bad as motorcycles. It's just as bad as politics. It's just as bad as everything. You know. People,
so you get people coming here that I mean, like obviously there's a culture of people that look for vintage. Like it's all about that, right? And I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to make my own vintage on this trip, just like tearing up all the shit I got, my 4 T-shirts I brought. But you know, I recently got into it with my wife, like going with her to different spots. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. And now that I'm realizing a lot of the like furniture I like and some of the, you know, aesthetics that I find, I'm into it. But then again, I got the body of a 2010 and newer dad bod, not like a, you know, so an extra large from the 70s is for like a different type of man.
Yeah. I don't really wear that much vintage either. I like selling it.
Yeah.
You know, my kids were into it. This is the only reason we opened this shop.
Oh,
and then I got off on the motorcycle stuff and like the artwork and the Western native stuff I really like, and just the old stuff I've been into forever. But the clothes itself, I mean, I'm not buying no $200 T-shirt. You know, I don't do it.
You're of all the ones I've been to, and I'm not like one to say that I've got an opinion about it, but as a motorcyclist, it's got a good blend of things that I think dudes would like, but I know my wife would nerd out in here too, you know what I mean? So it's like you look in one crack, there's a good selection of Harley Davidson like vintage shirts, which that's usually hard to find. You usually walk into a place and they got like 1 or 2 and they're like in a glass case or some shit like that.
Oh yeah. No, I kind of go overboard on anything I do. So it's one of those things where it's like, just keep buying them. And then as you do, you know, when you get a shop, people find you. So I get kids walking in, bringing stuff in every day, which has been real good. Okay. And even the regular town folk, because before, you know, these older folks that live here, someone might pass away and then they go dump all their stuff off at a thrift store or Habitat for Humanity, which is fine. But I give them money, so then they talk. So then I get all these older ladies that are, oh, you got to go see Mike at Big Chief Vintage. You give me $200 for that, you know, pair of boots, and I was going to give them to the thrift store for nothing. Yeah. You know, because I know what they're worth, and I pay them good, and that's got like a little thing going. In town. You know, you can do it in a small town.
Yeah, I guess that's also what works about like vintage, is because it's kind of a curation of like your local market almost. Like, so you might have a different vibe coming from the Northeast or Southeast or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, out here, there's a lot of Western stuff, which I love. You know, I'm into the Western stuff, into the native stuff, you know, into the outdoor hunter, fisherman, trapper, all that kind of stuff. You don't see that in Southern California. You know, you go to a vintage shop in Southern California and, you know, you see the clothes and someone might have a deer mount up on the wall. But, you know, I got 100 of them, you know, bears and deer and elk and, you know, everything. Up here, it's normal. Yeah. You know, so you see it and you can find it easier. But
yeah, I was going to ask you where all the mounted heads came from. If like what, but yeah, people just probably had
Well,
these.
I've been buying them. I mean, you know, what I would do too is go to a motorcycle swap meet. Everybody's fighting over a Sportster tank. I've said this a million times. They're all trying to get into the guy's truck. I'm over there looking at, you know, a bear head or a wolf rug or, you know, some Western tchotchke that no one gives a shit about. Even clothes, even though they are still, you know, they do buy them at swap meets. It's usually toward the end of the day, you know, where these guys, in the first thing in the morning, they're just trying to fight each other to find the best parts. Yeah. So I would do that. Car swaps and stuff, go to those, and not buy car parts, buy this type of stuff. Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, I'm not the only one doing it. There's everyone doing it, but it makes it fun. You know,
Oliver's the one that kind of turned me on to that. Oliver Jones cut rate. I was not staying the night, but I was hanging out at his place, and he just has a vintage room that he stores all the shirts in, and I'm like, dude, like what? How do you? He's like, man, it's like a side hustle for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I get it, man. It's cool, and the place is cool. I think it's like a version of a man cave that can also make you some money a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Well, everything in here I like. Yeah. So that's the difference. You know, a lot of people have a shop, they're just trying to make the money at it, or it's a spot like across the street, it's an antique store, and there's 30 different sellers in there. Oh, you know, one's into this, one's into shabby chic, one's into China. You know, so you go in there and, you know, you walk around for 5 minutes and you're like, yeah, I'm done.
That's what we have in Dallas. I think, you know, we were talking about with Milburn is that there's this place called Lulabee's, and I love it because, like you said, there's certain people that sell in there, and one of them always has like dope ass books and good stuff too. So it's like you go in every other week. I'll go in there and I'll probably pick up 1 or 2 books that they have that are pretty rad, and You know, other ones like Easy Riders, Playboys, those things are
Yep.
pretty common in a lot of those places. So I've been just buying the shit up, man. I think it's cool.
Probably bought 100 books, Harley books from this older lady. She came in, she goes, my husband loved Harleys and Indians. I mean, crazy books you can't even get, you know, ones are out of print. I mean, I gave her decent money for them, but, you know, they just walked in the store.
Yeah.
You know, and then people find out you like motorcycles, and in a little town, there's not a lot of people like motorcycles.
Yeah.
So even that guy you were here earlier, he showed me that picture. He just
Yeah.
wanted to show me that picture. He'd been talking about it. He found it.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
came all the way down here to show it to me.
His wife probably had him take it off the wall
Yeah.
somewhere in their house. It's been up.
Exactly. I mean, I even found a panhead 3 blocks from here.
What?
Yeah, guy came in the shop, and it's an older guy. He's like, oh, I heard there's a new Indian motorcycle shop in town, because I had a bunch of Indian stuff in here a while, and it sold. And him and his wife were riding brand new Harleys. And he came in, and he's like, oh, I got this old panhead me and my dad built. And this guy's like 75. He goes, we built it in the early 70s. Oh, that's cool, man. He's like, oh, I want to sell it. I'm like, well, I could help you. You know, I could try to help you sell it if you want. He's like, well, can you come over to my house tonight and look at it? I'm like, okay, where do you live? Because he lives like a block and a half away from here. So I'm like, okay, I'll come by. Really nice older guy. And he's like, you know, I really need to sell this thing. So I get to his place, a little old house, killer little place, got a little tiny garage, and I go in there and I see it's in the corner. And I was just like, holy shit. But I saw his new bikes, so I'm like, oh man, I love that bike. He's like, oh, I had those wheels powder coated black, and it's blue and black is my favorite colors. And his wife had a sports that was all bedazzled. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love those bags. They were all full of rhinestones and shit. And then he's like, well, that's the bike. And he points it out, and I'm like, it's pretty cool. That's pretty neat, you know. And then I went back to his new bike. So then I went back over to the old bike. We started looking at it. He's like, me and my dad built in this garage.
Damn.
And it's been here forever. And I said, okay, well, you know, it's pretty cool. I said, what do you think you want for it? He goes, I got to get 35. And I was just like, shit, this guy's been watching like too many American Pickers. You know, like it's probably close to that maybe on its best day, but there's no way I could pay that kind of money.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, I said, you don't have a relative, a son, a family member? He goes, I can't, I've been trying to sell for 3 years. And I'm like, wow. He's like, I was supposed to trade a boat for it, but the guy never came through. I said, all right, what do you got to have for it? He goes, $3,500. And it's yours. And I was thinking he was talking 35,000.
$35,000, yeah.
And I was just like, let me think about it. Even though I was inside, I'm like going nuts. I'm like sweating and just going, oh shit, shaking, because it was a killer bike. So then I said, let me let you know tomorrow. So I went back to his house. I go, I want to take the bike. I said, unless you have somebody that really wants it, I'll buy it from you. And he gave me all this shit that came with it. Old paperwork, saddlebags, extra carburetor, all kinds of fun shit. I just wheeled it right into the shop over here. I mean, it pushed so nice. The thing was just gliding down the road.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, this is a good one. You know, it was like a 53 panhead, but it was in a 37 knucklehead frame.
Oh shit.
And a bunch of cool parts. It was a little bit of a
And
mixed
those older
match.
things, they title the motor, right? Not the
They
frames.
do. Yeah, but you know, when you know what you're looking at, which I don't know everything, but I made some phone calls, students, and some pictures, and found out it was an early frame. It was like, you know, frames worth, you know, 7, 8, 10 grand. Where I was going to build a bike or get it running, and then I ended up selling it.
Yeah,
but
shit. I mean,
you know,
something like that. It's like if you're looking for it, when you're looking for it, you
Yep.
never find that, right?
Yep.
Like, oh, I want to build a panhead. Like, you'll never find that deal. But, you know, yeah. I mean, I just scored a FXR like that, the full fairing one. All the bells and whistles, it was pretty cheap like that. So
yeah. And I try not to hustle those people. Like I mean, I probably said it 10 times. Like, you don't have a son, a nephew, an uncle, somebody that wants it. I said it's worth more than that to somebody.
Yeah.
He goes, well, that's all I want for it. So I said, all right, you know. So got it. It was pretty sweet.
ain't bad.
Yeah.
It's
So
not bad.
you know, stuff like that happens when you have a shop. You know that you
Yeah, like
normally
you said,
don't.
small town like this, you become the hub for these people
Yep.
to come and, you know, like try to, hey man, you interested in it? Because, yeah, that's the kind of shit you want to do. Because how else would you get access to that house? Anybody?
No,
for
you
that
wouldn't.
matter.
No, and the other thing too is, you know, I've been to a lot of cool shops, and usually the people that run them are dicks. You know, I remember being younger. You go to a surf shop or skate shop, the people that worked in there were fucking assholes.
Yeah,
You know, you're
yeah.
just trying to figure out. You want to get into it, but you know you're trying to go in there and be cool, but you're not really in it.
Yeah, you don't know anything.
So you
yet.
don't know, but the same thing goes with like vintage shops and stuff like that. I've been in like cool spots and the people are just fucking assholes. Just not friendly, don't say hi, don't say bye. So anybody comes to my shop, I always, hey, what's up, man? How's it going? Where are you guys from? You know, you cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met so many people. I mean, just cool people. I mean, especially this town's full of festivals and stuff. So like last week, there was a concert thing here. I mean, been a bunch of bands actually from Texas. It was a guy, Mike and the Moon Pies, and now their name is Silverado or whatever. They were from Texas. Anyway, super cool dudes. The Folk Fest is here. Met a bunch of the players. They come in here, buy clothes, and now I become friends with all of them. So it's fun to be part of that.
Yeah.
Part of the little community, you know, and you can meet people.
It's probably a good balance to like not being so inundated with motorcycle stuff, but still things you're interested in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could, for what you and Grant do with the shows and all that, so I could see how. I actually wonder how you guys stay in love with motorcycles. I mean, because it's a high stress job. You know what I'm saying?
It is
for the time of the year.
Yeah.
It gets more stressful as you get closer to the deadline, right?
Yeah. I mean, he you know, Grant has his passions, and he likes old bikes. You know, that's what he likes. He doesn't like new bikes. It doesn't do anything for him. He's not excited. I mean, you know, he appreciates they're there and understands people build them and ride them and all that stuff. But like, I like all motorcycles.
Yeah.
So whether it's an old knucklehead or flathead or whatever, or your bike that you just built, like I love that
bikes,
shit.
Yeah.
You know, cool bikes I love. It don't matter if it's new or old.
Mm-hmm.
And I like seeing people do stuff with them. You know, make them their own or customize them or paint them or, I don't, stock bikes I like too, but it's just neat to see people doing cool shit with them.
That's how you find uniqueness in all this stuff is when people, sometimes it's not even like a chopper builder. Some dude just has just the right amount of swag and he throws it on a bike and it's just like, like that bike's killer looking, there's so many things, I just picked up a bike that is completely the opposite of what I think that I should be riding, but it's a 84 FXR that's just it's got a perfect patina on it. It's got apes, spoke wheel in the front, solid mag in the back, fucking retarded looking long pipes out the back, and it's just completely left field of what I do, and I love it. I love riding it. It feels completely like I'm cheating on myself.
Yeah, no, those are the good ones, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to run the same pipe, seat, risers, bars, fairing. But when you get one of those, it's kind of a little hodgepodge, funky old man bike.
Yeah.
Like I really like that 80s, 90s kind of like the way they did them then.
Yeah.
What
I'm coming to, like, the question I'm getting at is like, how do you? If you're going to stay in motorcycles for a long time, you're going to have to evolve like what you like. I feel like it's impossible to be like, I like 1984 shovelhead FXEs. That's it. That's all I fuck with. You know what I mean? Like if you like limit yourself, like I don't know if that's a great life in motorcycles,
No. I mean, I got things from mini bikes to baggers,
Yeah.
and I like them all. They all have different purpose, do different fun stuff with them. Ride with different people, you get the new crew, you want to go for a real ride, days and nights and all that, you get on the newer bike, or you get on the older stuff to take it easy, have fun. But like I told you before, man, I'm getting too fucking old. Like I don't have time to be on the side of the road. I get it. This is the experience. We broke down and so and worked on his bike for 14 hours. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I got too much shit doing.
I feel like that concept's been talked about so much between just motorcycle podcast and Rogan. The hard times create the good times, right? But how many people probably sabotage their motorcycles thinking like, oh, this is gonna be a good time. We got to figure it out on the side of the road,
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of like the Discovery channel we were talking about earlier. It's like this shit writes itself. You don't have to add your own flavor of adversity to it or whatever. But no, I think it's cool, man. I think it's a perfect fit. Like, what brought you out of California to here? Like this?
I mean, just like everybody else who, it was during COVID,
Mm-hmm.
You start reevaluating your life, what you're doing, what's important. And it was just like, man, we got to, we got to go. Like I have kids, 2 of them were out of high school and 2 of them were still, younger. And we're just like, it's just too many people.
Yeah.
Too many people, too much traffic. Forget all the politics. Who gives a shit? Just there's 40 million people in California.
Yeah.
And there's it's diverse, it's fun, and there's some neat stuff. But like when you're sitting in traffic all day long, I've told you this before. It's like if you live at the beach and you're a millionaire and you walk outside, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You live 20, 30 miles away, going to the beach, trying to find a place to park, fucking, and all that. It makes it no fun. I like easier. More convenience, right? So then we decided, hey, let's go look around. And we wanted to stay west. I didn't want to go, further east. So it was like, okay, what about, Idaho, or my dad always talked about Bend, Oregon when I was growing up, for whatever reason. He mentioned Bend, Oregon a million times. And then we were looking in Idaho, but that's right when all the shit was popping off and the prices were like really affordable. And then literally 2 weeks later, they were 3 or 4 times as much.
Boise went through the roof, didn't it?
Yeah. I was looking in Eagle where Todd Asen and the Idaho boys live, and I was looking at a place. You know, it was very reasonable from what we came from. It was 5 acres, big shop, house, and everything. It seemed very affordable. And then we were going to go look at it, and it went off the market. It was on Zillow. Went off the market. We're like, oh shit, it must have sold. And then 2 weeks later, it came back on the market, and I'm telling you, it went up $1.5 million from what they were asking.
Damn.
Originally. And I'm like, what? This can't be right. But it was like Fox News, and everybody was talking about Idaho, and everybody was getting all spooled up on it. So I thought, well, let's go check out Bend. I heard some stuff. It's kind of like this hippie town, artists, snowboard spot in the mountains, but the weather is pretty mild.
Yeah.
You know, like gets a little bit of snow, but it's nice, and it's not that far from California for the family and stuff. So we came up on a Thanksgiving weekend, 2020, and found the place that we went to look at and made an offer, and then went back and sold our place in a month.
Damn.
And then a month later we moved.
That's a quick decision.
Yeah, we just said, fuck it. I mean, you know, I could have went to Oklahoma and found something neat.
Yeah.
You know, Arkansas, Kentucky, like there's all kinds of badass spots, but I didn't want to wait around forever. And I felt like we had the whole family on board to move. We all moved, even my older kids, which have since moved back.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Well,
My daughter's a beach girl, and she did everything here. I mean, she did it all. She went camping, fishing, hiking, biking, just crushed it for a year and just decided, you know what, it's too cold.
I feel like I know a lot of people that tried to leave California and couldn't make it when they left.
Yeah.
It's almost like I look at California like if I wanted to go there, I don't know that I have the structure to be able to live. But if you grow up there and you have the friends and the connections and the know-how, you can kind of have a life there. But a lot of people that I know that try to go to Texas, they, you know, if they didn't sell like some huge house and make a lot of money and come to Texas like on a really, really good foot, you know, they're making less money in certain fields. And even though property was less, it's still not enough compared to what they were making, like in certain areas. So
well, luckily, knock on wood, we were smart. We bought a house when we were younger. You know, the prices went up. We sold that house, got another house. The prices went up, and then we moved here. It would have been nice if we would have moved 2 years earlier because it was way cheap, but we ended up doing well. You know, which helps. If I came here and I had to have a real job, living in a neighborhood, we wouldn't have done it. You know, we're on acreage. We had we get the farm and the cows and all that stuff. So we were like, let's change our whole thing.
So like that whole concept though of wanting that more wet. I mean, you're into the culture of it. So you were always kind of leaning towards.
I mean, I grew up in Fresno.
Okay, that's
pretty Clovis, California, like Central Coast. I mean, Central California. That's where I lived. I didn't live in Southern California. I grew up, you know, hanging out at the beach and all that. I mean, we went to the beach, went to like Pismo and Central Coast, but I grew up, you know, it was rural then.
Oh yeah.
You know, we lived on the outskirts and stuff like that. You know, my
like
dad
foothills or center.
We were still in town, right on the edge.
Okay.
You know, we were in the I would say country at the time. It was before it really blew up, but you know, my dad owned a lumber company and drove trucks and shit. So I mean, I didn't grow up SoCal style. You know, so I would go over to the Central Coast a lot. I had a lot of friends over there. I really liked it there, so I moved over there a little bit off and on during high school. My mom and dad got divorced, and then '94 I moved to Southern California. A buddy of mine who I was living with at the time, you know, got our first apartment or whatever. He got some job in Arizona. He left, and then they transferred him to Southern California. He goes, "Oh, you got to come out here." I'd never even been there, other than to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I never even knew what Newport Beach was, Laguna Beach, San Diego. Never been there at all. So I went out there in 94 or 5, visit him, and did the same thing. Went there for a week. It was like spring break. I'm like, fuck this. Went back. I had bought a house in Fresno for like $75,000.
Yeah.
Told my brother, you got to move into it. I'm leaving. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I had a girlfriend. I just told her I don't live here. She called me and I said, I don't live there anymore. That was the last conversation we had.
Wow.
I'm just like, fuck, I'm going. So I moved down there. He lived at the beach, Corona del Mar. I don't know if you've been there. It's like in between Newport and Laguna.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is going on? This is nuts. Conned my way into working for his company. I had no sales experience. He lied, told him I was a salesman, you know, all this stuff, because he worked in the flooring business, and that's what I did for almost 30 years. Once I moved there, and then borrowed one of his suits, had it all pinned and shit with safety pins. My fucking leg was bleeding, my back was stuck. I interviewed with his boss, told him I knew what I was doing. He hired me.
Damn.
So I didn't even know. I mean, I was like, went from working air conditioning in Fresno, making $15 an hour, to like a sales job with like expenses and all this shit. And I didn't even know what I was doing. Had to buy clothes, a car to drive. I had like an old truck and bought like a brand new SUV and all this shit like that. Well, anyway, I won't bore you with the story, but 6 months in, the company went bankrupt.
Damn.
So I was like, holy shit, I just packed up my whole life. But the bankruptcy court paid our wages for 1 year.
Oh,
so me and him just hung out at the beach for 1 fucking year.
Not reinvest or anything.
No. So then, luckily, you know, I had a little bit of a name because I kind of conned my way in. You know, I was like friendly and stuff. So anyway, I got another job in the same industry, and that's all she wrote. And then met my wife and did all that shit. But yeah, I didn't grow up in that kind of stuff. You know, I like to surf and skate, but I'm not like a surfer or a skater.
Yeah.
You know, I just like to do shit, and then you know, you try to do it, and you know, that's it. So.
No, that's cool. I mean, it sounds like you just kind of land in the right spot a couple of times, whether it's a panhead down the street or, you know, getting.
Well, you know, you got to be. You know, I'm a hustler.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not. You know, that's what I do. I hustle, and you know, you try to get yourself in the right spot, meet some people, be nice to some people. You know, good shit comes your way sometimes. But I've had some bad times too. Shit, you know, I fucking went bankrupt one. You know.
Yeah.
After I was there for a while, I got all caught up, credit card debt, and all this is 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And then just fixed my shit, you know.
You know, on the first podcast we did, we kind of talked about the early days of Born Free. And realistically, like I feel like we skimmed through a lot of it. You know, phone conversations are always a little bit difficult to really get the nuance of the conversation. Like just for everybody listening again, like what was like maybe that initial jolt? Like, was it before or during the blogs, after the blogs?
It was during.
During?
Yeah. The blogs actually really helped us because I said I had mine, and that's how we were communicating with all these people. You know, when we had Born Free 1, you know, so there, I think I told you, but there was this little cafe in Costa Mesa. People would go ride their motorcycles there on a Sunday morning, meet for breakfast, like an hour, 2. And it started getting a little more traction. You know, people started showing up. There were some cooler bikes. And then we're like, you know, this is kind of fun. This is kind of cool. And then we decided to do a little ride out to Cook's Corner.
Yeah.
And there was like, you know, 25 people or something showed up. And then we decided, hey, let's do the show. But the blogs, that's where it was, you know. I didn't know any of those guys from the Midwest. I mean, there was a bunch of different blogs from all those dudes.
Yeah.
Warren and all those guys, we didn't know any of them in person, just through the blog stuff. And then when we had the first show, like I told you before, a lot of those dudes came out. Warren didn't, but a lot of the Midwest guys came out. Josh Kerpius.
Yeah.
And I mean, a bunch of people. Dave Paulgreen, I think. I didn't even know at the time, and none of those dudes. So it definitely connected, you know, everything. I mean, the idea wasn't to create this big old monster of a show. It was just to get some people together that liked old bikes. And at that time, it was strictly old shit, old choppers, and, you know, didn't matter the brand or whatever, but it was old stuff.
Yeah.
Because the people were already doing new bikes. I mean, Cook's Corner every Sunday for the last 50 fucking years has been loaded with new bikes.
Yeah.
And that wasn't on my radar at the time.
I mean, it's pretty cool now, like seeing even like the hamster community leaning into Born Free and seeing a lot of those guys running around. And hell, even at Cook's Corner, they got their own little area they kind of commandeer, seems like, every time they come out. And I think it's, you know, from the old vintage bikes, like you're, you know, kind of the roots of it, it's been a good way of connecting a lot of different little subcultures, I think. I mean, even this year, there was a lot of Vikla style bikes. I mean, you could pay that towards, you know, the rise of like, what's that show, Mayans. But then again, that culture's always had a lot of those bikes running around and stuff. And seeing those come in, it's different. It's like, it's dope to see it. And they're there, and the families are there, and they're having a good time. And you look over to your right, there's a tricked out FXR, and then a full bagger, and then a fucking knucklehead. It's like, where else are you going to get this gambit of motorcycles together in one field? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, it's a good mix of bikes. And then, like you said, those old guys, they've kind of been forgotten. I mean, they were big time at one time, and then they kind of went away, or people just discarded them or whatever. So anytime we meet any of those guys or run into them, explain the show, what it is. I mean, this year, Dave Perowitz helped with that.
Yeah.
You know, him and Jody helped with that. But, you know, and now other people are doing it too. I mean, they're reaching out to these old timers. You see them coming at the shows and bringing out their bikes and all that. But there was a period where they weren't really appreciated. No one really cared.
Yeah.
You know, it was like the new, you know, younger kids and stuff. And they didn't get any respect. So we've always shown them good respect. I mean, there was a lot of other bikes there that people didn't know. And other builders have been doing this shit for a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a lot of those guys over the years. And we treat them good, and we, you know.
Yeah, like the last 2 years I've run into Russell Mitchell, which I always think is pretty wild. You know, just remembering him from the Great Biker Build.
Oh, yeah.
Not the series, but the one show where it was, you know, England, America, and I think New Zealand going head to head and stuff. And it's just like, it's like crazy to see, like it created a hub for even these guys to come back out of the house and come, you know, be a part of something that I assume they think it's cool. That's why they're there. You know what I mean? Yeah, I dig it, man.
Yeah, no, a lot of those guys. I mean, I'm friends with Cheek. I haven't seen him forever. He's moved, but you know, when I first moved to SoCal and got my first panhead, he let me work on it at his shop. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was in there fucking cleaning it or something. You know, but met those guys, and that's right when those biker build-offs were kind of on the tail end. Yeah. But you know, talked to him for quite a bit, and then I met Russell. In fact, he hit me up this year to get a grass pass. I didn't have any, so I don't know how he got in, but I know he got in.
Oh, man.
But all those guys, I mean, they're all good dudes. You know, it's good, like you said, it's good to see the older stuff coming back, and just it's a good blend of everything. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, we just want people to come and have fun and see it all. I mean, you know, there's people there that probably think Russell Mitchell is Jesus. You know, I remember some of those bikes, and I remember it's kind of before I really got into vintagey stuff and going, man, those things are fucking cool. You know, flat black, big old fucking wheels. You know, I think that trike he built was like one of my favorite looking bikes. Like, it was just neat, tough looking shit. And then it was real minimal. You know, the motors looked like they didn't even look complete. You never saw a wire. Yeah. You never saw anything. So, I mean, I still have a lot of respect for those guys.
Yeah, his style was very, you know, flat black, kind of like brushed aluminum, like, you know, minimalist but tough guy.
But it was clean though.
Yeah.
You know, wasn't a bunch of shit everywhere. You know, it was just like a clean look. You know, I always liked his stuff. I love Chica's stuff, because he was doing that Japanese blend when no one else was doing it out here. Yeah. You know, he was one of the first ones.
Yeah, it would really be funny, because there's a handful of people that build bikes that are some of them are like him, where they're against flashy or colory things. So I think it'd be fun to put a group of builders together that have to go the opposite of how they build. Like, almost like pull a name out of the hat, and you have to build a style of bike that's in the vein of a Rick Fairless or this, and see how somebody else can. I mean, that's literally like what a customer will do if they come into you, is give you some off the wall shit that you have to figure out how to do. But of course, I don't know if anybody would take that on, but just a random.
No, it'd be cool to see something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But the this year, man, it was pretty gnarly. Once again, you can stand at one end, like in the food court area, and just look out and see heads till it kind of vantage points. You know what I'm saying?
That was definitely the biggest show we've had, which again, we're super happy and proud and pleased that everybody came out and supported the show, because, you know, it could easily turn sideways when people are like, oh, fuck those guys, you know. But it was our biggest show. And even our Sunday, which we've never sold out Sunday grass passes before, believe it or not. And this year we did.
That's cool.
But our general admission was up on Sunday. But Sunday's always going to be a chill day. Like I've told you before, it's hard to run it that hard 2 days in a row for a lot of people. But Sunday was great. People were spending money, which I was concerned with the way the economy is and just kind of the uncertainty. But we did, you know, our merch sales were great. I mean, everybody I talked to seemed like they were doing really well too. It was a good vibe. In fact, this year, as stressful as Saturday from about 9 to 1 was, because it was, you didn't want to be on our radio. I mean, it was crazy. We were parking bikes. Grant was out there having a fucking meltdown parking bikes, because our parking staff who we hire did not have enough people for whatever reason. And, you know, people on a motorcycle, they don't listen. And they're not listening to some kid with his head down. So once the parking goes sideways, it's impossible to reverse. And we have a certain way we park to fit a certain amount of bikes that we sell for the grass passes. So that's the only thing I'm ever stressed out about is making sure everybody gets in and parked on the grass, because they paid to do that. So like, some people don't give a shit, I do. So I'm just thinking, fuck, I'm looking at bikes and I'm looking at the parking areas filling up and going, oh man, we're in big trouble. So Luckily, we cut the fire road down a little bit, which we weren't supposed to, and we did park people. You know, we got them all parked.
Got them in there.
So that was good. But yeah, it was pretty gnarly. But what I was saying is, I did enjoy it, and I went and talked to a few more people that I normally don't get to talk to. Hung out in some booths, probably hiding out. More than hanging out, but it was good. You know, I felt like everybody seemed to be in good spirits. You know, the builder bikes were cool. This group was really a good group.
How many builders y'all have this year?
We had 30.
Yeah,
we had about 30. We had a couple drop out, and we added one or two after the fact.
So what is like the criteria for the builders? Like as far as like, I know like you've said before what you look for in the builder, but as far as the bikes, like is there a cutoff of years? Like what do you kind of?
Nah, anything you want to build. Yeah, I mean this year, the kid that won the SNS motor at the end of the day, he's from Tucson. He rode out some sporty chopper. And I went and introduced him to the SNS guys. And I told him, I'm like, hey, if you build a bike with the motor, we'll put you in the special guest area next year. And he goes, well, what about being an invited builder? I'm like, well, if you think you can do it, you know, if you think you can do it. So now he's, you know, it's just, I've never met the guy before. He's about a 27, 8-year-old kid from Tucson.
Yeah.
You know, he had a cool little chopper. It wasn't anything to the degree of the invited guys, but like you were talking about earlier, you give somebody opportunity and you don't know what someone's capable of. That's the one thing, like, I don't like when people, I know that guy's style, it sucks, or he's not that good. You have no idea, because we've had some of the best bikes from people that you would not think would be capable enough, or even from when the show class had their thing and then Builtwell took it over, people got cut, didn't even make the cut. We've had some of the best builders of all time from that group, those groups. And they didn't even get, you know, first, you know, whatever, 13 bikes or 20 bikes. They just got hacked immediately.
Yeah, I think that being like to that notion or that point of we don't know what they're capable of, but I think that they don't know what they're capable of.
Exactly.
They just know that like they're gonna, instead of looking at that and not doing it because of money, they're gonna figure out how to get the money to do the thing or learn the skill or add that flavor. It does kind of overtake your mind to create. And it becomes very intoxicating, you know. And so, like to me, in the small scale I had doing this FXR, that right there is like something that I understand why some people who are not avid riders can get into building bikes and be kind of fulfilled by that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
there's
saying?
for sure. There's a lot of guys that build bikes that don't ride.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of guys that just want to ride and they don't give a shit about what bike they're on. But it's a good mix, and we got a good blend of that. You know, we've had a lot of builders that, you know, they just don't ride motorcycles for whatever reason. They're just not out planning trips and all that. They just like the creative side, building something, seeing it from the beginning to the end, you know, and that's their thing. And it you know, I have nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the point of like why, you know, like when we did the FXR tour, there was a little bit of shade thrown the way, but I think the shade was because, once again, people think that they could, if it was their show, they would have done it this way. If they would have picked the builders, it would have been that, right? But we gave people custom built bikes that you get to follow along with all year long, and they had to ride them 1,000 miles. Now, granted, some of us broke down. Some of us made decisions based on the fact that they built bikes that were kind of like Clem Speed Shop, for instance. This dude's building a Land Speed FXR, right? He's got a $20,000 motor in this thing. It wasn't tuned to be in Durango, Colorado, and then ride it down to the plains, right? So he made a decision. He's like, you know what? I built this bike. I showed up with it. It starts. It runs. But I'm going to ride my other FXR on the tour, and then I'll display this at the deal. And it's like, man, I ain't mad at you. I understand. Like, when we first put this whole thing together, we didn't think people would do it. And we definitely, like, everybody that we asked, the first person we asked, they all said yes immediately. And like, oh, well, I've been working on this bike for a couple of years. I guess I'll finish it now. And, you know, it's just kind of one of those things that I think that people always say they want this, or I want to see bikes being ridden or whatever, and then they still complain. You know what I mean? So it's like,
well, you know, that you're never going to please everybody, but we get it too. It's like, oh, the gas tank's too small. You can't ride that anywhere. It's like, well, hey, look, the guy's building a show bike.
Yeah.
He wants to build a show bike. a throwback to the 60s glory days, and they had teeny little tanks, tube tanks.
Yeah.
I mean, even this year, Gary Royal, when the builder invited me, had that killer knucklehead with those little drag tanks, right? He's not going anywhere with those things, but that's what he wanted to do. Now he's got 3 of those bikes. He's built 3 years in a row. They're all killer. I mean, he's going to keep those things. He's not selling them. I mean, it makes him happy. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
Then you get a guy who's like, hey, I want to build this thing. I want to ride it. Or somebody like Max Schaff, who's like, anytime he's ever built a bike, as far as I remember, and he's always built a bike for the show. That's what people don't know. It may not be for an invited builder, but he's always brought a new bike since Born Free 1.
Damn.
Since Born Free 1. He always rides his bikes to the show. That's his jam. I mean, we sometimes tell people, hey, it might not be the greatest idea. You've done all this work, and then you blow up in fucking Kansas somewhere, and then you get here late, or you don't show up or whatever. But we don't. You do what you want to do. Right?
Max is not too far away, so he could probably pull it off.
No, but he's always done that. And then there's some guys, they just build this showpiece, and we want to make sure the thing runs and starts and drives. But probably no one's ever ridden a lot of these bikes. They're in somebody's shop or in somebody's house or in somebody's bar, and that's what they were built for. Which again, it's the same. Takes the same amount of effort.
Yeah.
Whether you're going to ride the thing to fucking Colorado and back, or you're just going to put it in your garage and stare at it.
I mean, the main thing is that when you ride them, they just get tore the fuck up real quick.
Yeah, that's why I like rider bikes. I like bikes with some age and some
there's a
grease on them. Like the show stuff's neat, but man, it's tough. It's tough to maintain, and then
Yeah.
But we love people building bikes, and we're flattered they want us to build bikes for the show and continue to do that, and finding new people. And like we talked about, giving them a chance, giving them an opportunity. We don't think it's anything special. I know a lot of people do, and that's sometimes we look back and go, maybe we should feel a little stronger about it because these guys are taking it so serious.
Yeah.
And even like I mentioned before in the awards, is like, best panhead. We'd throw out a best panhead award. It might not be the best panhead in the show, but some guy had a cool story. He wrote it here from wherever. It was his dad's bike, or it just was cool looking. I saw it looked cool. And then you hear from the critics like, oh, that wasn't the best panhead. There was 20 others better. How are you guys giving an award to best panhead? It's like, well, the awards are supposed to be done in fun. It's not serious. But the more feedback we got on that, it's like, okay, well, maybe we should try to take it a little bit more serious. Mm-hmm. So then, people want to bring their bikes, and, I get it, right? You lose an award. You think your bike's better, and we just downplay the awards basically. Other than the best in show and the builder awards that they vote on, the rest of them to me has always been in fun.
It have to be because in order to do it correctly, you would have to bring in a panel of judges,
and there is none.
And you'd have to do all this stuff to the point where I think that because the lowrider world does it that way, and I think that when you have a checklist sheet, you get people that builds to a sheet to win a trophy instead of building out of creativity, right? And to me, I think the latter makes people fall in line versus if you just, hey, make something cool. And what was cool last year might be different this year. So, I mean, sometimes it's the fucking roll of the dice. Yeah. Like if you hit the, nail on the head this year, or you're a year behind or a year ahead or whatever the case may be, I had a question that you just, Born Free Texas builders, like this new thing added to the mix. Has that all been?
We're getting ready to announce.
Okay.
I want to hopefully.
So this will come out in August.
Yeah.
So
So we're going to announce, so it says 5th of July, by Monday, whatever that is, 8th or 9th. Hopefully we can announce. The guys are chomping at the bit. So we had Daryl Borba, who's been a builder and is from Texas, and Jason Ochoa, same thing, builder, both actually this year too.
Yeah, killer bikes they did.
They did both amazing bikes, And Daryl won an award, just an award of excellence. It was a killer bike. Jason didn't win anything this year, but I mean, the guys have won before, and they make badass stuff, and they're from Texas, which we love. So I talked to Daryl, a few months ago about this builder idea. He might even have brought it up. I'm not even sure, because he's been wanting to help.
Yeah.
And I want to give him something to do. I want him to be involved. We want as many Texans as we can involved. And I think it was his idea to do the builders. And I said, why don't you guys pick them? You guys pick them. Pick 20 to 25 guys. You vet them. You talk to them.
Yeah.
You do it. And they submitted the list to us a few weeks ago. And we wanted to get through California. I know the guys are chomping a bit. They want to get announced. They want to start doing all that. But we needed to get through so there's no confusion. But Monday, whatever that date is. We're going to hit it hard and heavy. We'll do a full builder announcement, builder artwork. It's not going to be the same as California year one because we don't have the resources quite yet and everything, but we will have a good cash prize for them. We're going to give everybody a builder booth. We'll certainly promote the bikes online like we do, the build-alongs if they're willing to share and all that. Yeah. I mean, we would love to build that into the same version of California, you know, give those guys an opportunity. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe talk to Shige for Moon Eyes about potentially pulling one of those guys. It's a little tough because the timeline's close. Those bikes load around Halloween for Japan. So there's still an opportunity. Yeah,
but that has to be all the way to LA, right?
I don't think it would happen this year, but going forward, we want to make it.
Oh, that's what I was going to say about the Born Free California. To me, and from all the shows that I've kind of attended and I go to and I check out, to be an invited builder at Born Free, I think is kind of like the pinnacle, because you're actually building for it, as opposed to, there's nothing wrong. I think it's also badass to be invited to display your bike at a show, an event. But when you're being invited, you're amongst another group of men or women to build a bike for an event like that has probably the most collection of the industry together in one spot. Like, I don't think you can get a better platform to have a bike shown in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, we've said it before, like, and there's nothing wrong with these other shows. They actually do it right. Like, I would rather have guys have done bikes, you invite them to come.
More guaranteed.
But saying invited builder, and everybody's using it right now. Yeah. Invited builder, invited builder, invited builder. It's like, well, not everybody's built the bike. They're the invited owner of the bike, which is fine. Who cares? But I do like the fact that we're still pushing people to build a motorcycle. Yeah. I got invited to party at the Pin. I'm not a fucking builder. Yeah. Like, I could do some stuff. Like, you know, I could be a builder if I wanted. If I put enough energy as I put into the show or my shop or, you know, my cows. Just like you know, you're learning to weld, you're learning to fabricate. We could do it. Yeah. You know, we have the eye, and you just got to do it. Yeah. That's just not something that I want to do. I'd rather buy these bikes that I like to buy, tinker around with them, put some different parts on them, keep them or flip them. Yeah. But I was invited, which was great. I love the guys. They invite me. I'm bringing a new bike that I haven't shown before and all that. But I'm an invited guest. Yeah. Not a builder. You know, I didn't build this bike for this show. It was, you know. It's been actually in the works for fucking 5 years, so it's actually nice to have a reason. Again, it's a reason to finish it. Finish it, yeah. You know, and bring it. So I'm going to do that. But our guys, you know, I'm glad that there's people that still want to build motorcycles and they still want to build it for our show. 100%. You know, and we're trying to continue to find new people. We had a lot of new people this year. I mean, there were guys at our builder party, I didn't even know who they were. I'm like, I don't know who these guys are. Because some of the guys I talked to hit me up, some of the guys Grant, and we don't really communicate too much there. It's just like, hey, I got this guy, you know, let's do it. Cool. Yeah. Like, I trust him, he trusts me, so it's not like we have to have this big committee and do a deep dive on the guy to see who he is. A whole bunch of faces on the wall and you're moving more exactly. Yeah, picking American Idol, picking your winners. No. So it's like, there was a lot of dudes, and I'm just like, man, I don't know any of these guys. You know, I was introducing myself to them. Like, hey, I'm Mike, you know, I'm Grant's partner, you know, thanks for coming, thanks for building a bike, it's awesome. So it was good to see a whole fresh crew. We certainly had some returning guys. Yeah. Which, you know, we have to continue to, you know, we have a good guy who's built killer bikes and one stuff, and if he wants to do it, I'm not telling him no. Yeah. Just not going to do that. But I would love to get more new people passionate about building motorcycles and wanting to do it. Just like the kid I was telling you about. I looked him, you know, he messaged me. He's got, you know, 300 followers on Instagram. He's not some big influencer dude. And hopefully he can build a neat bike. Yeah. But he's getting a good chance, you know.
Got to rise to the occasion.
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And we had a lot of those guys this year. And like, I'm super proud of this group. Like, even some of the guys who've done it before, and I won't bring up all the names, but Anthony Robinson is one dude that I just love. Anthony, I don't know if you know him. He does the gasoline and coffee. He's been out to Texas. Yeah. Anyway, he normally builds Triumphs. And then he built a Sportster one time or whatever. And he built this shovel head that him and his dad wanted to build. His dad passed away this year, cancer. So it's one of those things, you know, and he went through divorce and all this crazy shit. I'm always rooting for this guy. He's like the ultimate underdog. And he built one of the coolest little shovel heads that we've seen in a long time. Nice. And he was invited to Japan, not as a winner, on his own. So Shige invited a few other bikes, and that was one of them. When I found that out, I was like, he was like beside himself.
That's like the ultimate prize right there. You know what I mean?
So he didn't win the show. He got best shovelhead. I wanted to give him an award. It was just too cool. Little tiny bike, almost looked like a Triumph, but super well done, especially for someone who's not in the Harley world to pull that off. Yeah. Or even a Harley guy building a Triumph. It's
kind of like
hard.
the thing I said earlier, the builder building something that is not really in his world.
But him and his dad was a Harley guy, and they wanted to build a Harley together, and his dad passed. He actually came to my shop last year. It was in 23 sometime. I mean, it was done. He was on his deathbed. He could barely get around. Proud guy, though. I remember him going to the bathroom. He's like, I got to use the bathroom. Went in there and threw up. He had cancer, like just tough as nails. I mean, I was like very emotional even seeing him. Then found out he passed, and Anthony wanted to still build the bike. And then came to the show, no expectation, nicest guy in the world, wins best shovelhead. 2 days later, he gets invited to Japan.
That's awesome.
That's
cool shit.
And people know who he is, but he's not the cool guy that everybody wants to be around. You know what I mean? Like he's certainly a super nice guy, and people do know him. He's awesome, but he's not. He wasn't invited because of his personality, even though he's great. He was invited on it for his bike. Yeah. And I didn't have anything to do with it. And we have nudge Shige places where we want to see something maybe go. And this year we didn't do that, and he went and picked it. So I was stoked for him.
That's cool.
So it was good. It was a good deal. And some other guys got invited as well.
Yeah, I think that's the good aspect of the Born Free thing. It's just opportunity, and it's like I know people that are starting to look at Born Free as like, I want to get my skills to the point where I can, I don't know if the word is compete on that level, but just contend. I just want to get out there and be amongst those people. Because I mean, realistically, it's an honor to be on that stage with other people. It's probably rare that you're going to get, if you ever get the opportunity, that there's not going to be someone on that stage that you've looked up to at some point in your career or your, endeavors trying to learn the craft. So, but I'm excited about Born Free Texas. I mean, the heat this year was a little bit much for me. I bitched out a little early on Saturday.
Well, we were 72 last year, which was like 10, 12 degrees below the norm, and this year we were 12, 15 degrees above.
Yeah.
But honestly, in the afternoon, I mean, it actually gets cooler around 2 or 3 o'clock. It really cools down. The wind comes up and you get the breeze. So the afternoon, like through the wards and all that, was actually much better than the morning.
Dude, under where the stage was, where y'all do the wards, was like the coolest part. It had a nice breeze coming through that.
Yeah, there's some spots, if you know where they are along the water, you can sit. I mean, it's 20 degrees cooler over there, and you're not sweating. You're not burning up. But we did. Yeah, I mean, we've had 105 and we've had 72. It's just California,
I've been to the 105 one.
It's one of those things where you just never know. But it could be worse. People are coming from fucking Tennessee or wherever, Texas, tornadoes and floods and all this crazy shit. Like 90 degrees isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Well,
we've been lucky, I think, in the last 2 years with Texas, because last year at Texas was kind of like perfect weather.
Yeah, it was awesome.
The year before, kind of perfect weather as well, but we had a little bit of a wind situation. But it didn't really. It's not raining. That's the good thing. We don't really get a lot of rain in October. The only thing we ever have to worry about is the occasional rogue hurricane that likes to, come late in the season.
Yep.
And I always like to say that thing from Pineapple Express. I thought hurricane season was over.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like anytime it's October, November, and a hurricane comes through, it's like first thing that comes to mind.
Well, I told you the last time I think we talked, it was Born Free 1 in Texas. On my way home that Monday, I went through a tornado.
Oh shit! No,
yeah,
for real?
Yeah. Well, it was developing out from me. I could see it, and I was in my big truck, and it was just me and one other dude on the road. And I'm not used to Texas. There's no fucking overpasses.
Yeah.
There's no mountains. There's no shelter. You're just out there. And it was like, I don't know. It was probably east of Amarillo, or I guess east of Amarillo, if that makes sense. I don't know. I can never get my directions in Texas. No mountains.
You went up 287, so you.
And it was it was probably like an hour and a half away or whatever. And this thing was just I've never felt that kind of wind before. And then I looked over, and it's just this black, green looking thing. And there was tornado warnings, and I went on the route that said you would avoid severe weather. I don't like tornadoes. Like that scares me.
I don't think anybody does.
I know people are like, oh, they're fine. You go in your shelter, you stay off the road. I mean, to me, there's nothing more terrifying than a tornado.
Yeah, it's definitely like it's like karma just making its path through the plains, right? But a tornado, for the most part, is kind of a pinpointed damage area. So yes, there are like anomalies where you'll have this like massive fucking tornado that's like a mile wide,
Yeah.
right? Very rare. Most of the time, it's like fucking the tornado will come down this street, it'll fuck that place up across the street, and it won't touch yours. Yeah. And that's kind of I guess when you think about how big the area of Texas, you know, Oklahoma, the whole plains, right? Tornado Alley, as they call it. I mean, I kind of want to move to Oklahoma, but I don't want to. They get more tornadoes than we do.
Yeah.
But they got some fucking dope land. Like the land's dope. It's like cheap. It's pretty cool there. But you know, yeah, the tornado thing. Every time we would have our camp out, that would be the first thing people would ask. Like, so is there any tornadoes there? It's like, man. And there's that new Twister movie coming out, so it's gonna make it even worse.
Well, this is October. I thought tornadoes were done in October.
I
thought it was like
season was over.
February, March, April, May. You know, I was like, October, I'm not gonna hit a tornado. They're crazy. And I literally, it never really organized itself. It was just out there doing its thing. But the wind I felt in that truck, I've never felt anything like that.
Crazy story, 2015, I believe. Christmas Eve, tornado comes through Dallas. Kind of south, like it kind of pinpointed a couple little spots of Dallas and just fucking, mainly like on the south side of town where I live, there's a lot of like trucking company things, and it's always gnarly like watching the videos of those fucking 18-wheelers.
Oh.
Not the truck, usually just the trailers going up in the air, right? Because they don't weigh nowhere near the trucks do. But yeah, Christmas Eve made it way through. So it's like our only, and we tell people like in Texas, we have all year riding, but usually on New Year's, we're out riding because it could be 70 degrees or it could be like low in the 30s at night, high in the 60s. But come February, early parts of March is kind of when you're getting more of the like 30-degree weather, things like that. So, but we've had probably the most rain this year than not any year. I don't fucking have an almanac with me, but you know,
I've been
it's been pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
And I'm going that way just hoping that, you know, because trying to go to New York, like I got to cross the fucking plains.
Yeah.
And, you know,
and
it is scary.
You can take the high route or something. I don't know if that matters.
Yeah, but it's like, I mean, when you, like off of the mountains, right? So off the Rockies, there's some science that takes place in the atmosphere, and that's where all these gnarly storms start, and they move, east. Those are thunderstorms. The ones that usually come from the east are remnants of hurricanes. You know what I mean? So anytime we get like the shit come from the southeast, it's usually like a tail whip of a hurricane.
And there's some big hurricane out there floating around right now. I think
there's one
Jamaica.
after another.
I think there's a huge one. And I think I don't know where it's supposed to land, Texas or Mexico. They're not sure, but you probably skirt around that. But
oh yeah, I'll be north, hopefully.
Yeah.
I got caught in a hurricane leaving what's the Key West?
Yeah.
Going, and I caught the tip of it coming mainland as I was going through Orlando. Just fucking, you just got to scream in your helmet and think of like the Gladiator movie, like any kind of manly thing.
I'm pretty particular when it comes to riding and stuff, and having wet visor. I can't see shit. You know, it's all fogged up. You can't see. It's like, oh, that kind of sucks. I went on some rides where we had some pretty good rain and stuff, and that's part of the deal, right?
I brought a rain suit in hopes that whole, if you bring the tool you need, you'll never use it.
Yeah, you don't need it. Yeah. So. Well, you're going to probably hit something. I mean, there's a lot of weather going on right now. Hopefully, knock on wood, you skirt around it. But
yeah, I'm hoping that if it's a certain time frame, I won't have like any main obligation. Because the only next obligation I really have is I want to be at the Full Tilt Boogie show, which is on the 20th of
that's in Minneapolis?
July, in Minneapolis. And then from there, I have 2 weeks to get to New York and then back to Sturgis. Okay. So, you know, if I have to take a day or an afternoon and not make it as far to let a storm pass, that's the good thing about it out there is that like it's a storm that passes.
Yep.
You know, it's not like it's like you were talking about the gloom.
It's not a 2 week cycle thing. It's just some big storm and then 20 minutes later it could be gone.
Exactly. It's fucking
sunny again
or humid as fuck depending on where you're at. But
well, I mean, it'd be fun. You're doing it right. I saw you pull up, and I was just like, man, that'd be fun.
Yeah, my ass hurts. Yeah. But I'm getting over it. I did like a little podcast for my Patreon last night to kind of give everybody a little heads up of where my head's at in it. And last night I wanted to go home. You know what I mean? Because I have this thing in the morning when I wake up till about noon. I'm fucking exuding enthusiasm and stoked about this. And then from noon to 6. Especially if it gets hot like it did yesterday, I'm just like, man, I could be grabbing my wife's boobs right now.
Exactly.
You know, eating normal, cool, like, it's like, and here I am with my ass hurting. Because it's like that after the third gas stop is when it starts to hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Oh,
about
you'll change your seat?
120, cool before comfort.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, you'll be, you know, when you get done with this trip, then you'll be used to it. You'll be like a cycle
callous,
guy. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But right in the little skinny seats.
I got those little those bicycle pads things. I thought about bringing it, or I don't know. I figured if it got too bad, I'll just throw like a T-shirt under me and give me some cushion.
Yeah, get those mountain bike shorts with the big old pads in there. You know, put a pillow on there.
Well, I am excited about Born Free Texas. I think every year that, you know, the first year the problems was the gate. Second year, not a problem.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't even know if there was a problem in the second year. I feel like the second year, from the perspective of us like partying and, you know, doing business, it was a well-oiled machine.
We didn't have any problem. Yeah, you're right on the gate. First year of the gate, obviously, we didn't know.
Yeah.
And that place is tight. It's hard to get into it for, you know, when you don't know. But last year there was never a wait. But also, you know, doing the 4 days, letting people come in early who want to be there early. You got motorhomes, all that, trailers and trucks, all that shit's there early, not prime time, Saturday morning, waiting in line, backing it up all the way to the highway. So that obviously helped tremendously. Like, we didn't have any problems last year at all. I mean, it's just trying to figure this thing out, right?
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to throw stuff at it, but like you'd mentioned earlier, it's a big fucking place. We're 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
It's not 9 to 5, 10 to 5.
Yeah.
So you plan in those hours, this is what we're doing, and then it's done. Get out, go home.
Yeah.
So it's what happens after 5, what happens 6, 7, the bar, the party, the this, the that, you know, like there's a lot going on, which makes it fun, but it's also a little chaotic because you don't really have a schedule that you can work off. It's just like, it's just happening.
Yeah.
Which is also cool.
Yeah.
You know, but this year, I mean, we just announced the admission today. So we're giving everybody like an early bird special till September 1st, I think. Audra and them at Yellow Rose, they're awesome. Number one, Oliver and the whole crew. John, everybody there, Sean, everybody. They handle all the admission. They handle all the questions. They handle all the facilitation of the admission, the sending the wristbands and all that. And we go off of their lead, what they think. So we've got a special deal from now until September 1st to hopefully get people to buy early, which also helps staff.
Yeah.
Security, food vendors. I mean, you can't have 30 food vendors if you only need 3.
Yeah.
You know, and then they have to buy alcohol. You can't return that shit. You know, there's a lot of nuances to doing a show. Born Free California is different. We know what we know, and we know how many people come. And, you know, this year was bigger, but we didn't have any issues because our people are on it.
Yeah,
but out there, it's like, well, if you have 4 food vendors and 50,000 people show up, you're fucked.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So the pre-sale helps us. It's not that we trying to get your money early. It's just like it really.
You got to know how much staff you need.
Exactly.
You
It
know?
gives them an indicator. And like last year, I mean, the security bill, I think I told you, which we don't talk about bills, was insane. I said, we got to cut that back. Like, there's just no way. We're paying more for security in Texas than we are in California.
Yeah.
But the security doesn't want to work overnight with this 4 people. They're not doing that. You know, they have to protect themselves. Not that anything happened and not one thing happened. And the sheriff's close by and Nate showed up and had a good time and everything. But, you know, the point being is that you have to go off of what they say. So if they say it's, you know, $15,000, $20,000, that's what it is. You can't say, hey, just have 2 guys come. Everybody's cool. They're not going to work the event with 2 people.
Yeah.
You know, it's they got to assess the risk and go, hey, if something happened, these people can get killed.
Yeah.
Or we're not going to get people here in time. So anyway, long story is that we're trying to do the pre-sale, give people a price, a special price to make them want to buy early so they're not buying late. California, the second grass passes go on sale, they're fucking sold out.
Yeah.
You know, and I get it. It's different. In Texas, we don't really have a cap per se, but we are going to cap it at a manageable level. But we need that pre-sale to help them. It's not us. It's them figure out what they need to do.
Yeah.
You know? So we're trying to help Yellow Rose Canyon. So if anybody's out there listening, it's like, help them out.
I do have a close homie that wants to vend food there. Do we need to get with like
Get up with Audra.
Okay.
Yeah. And we want to add more food vendors too. We want to have a better variety, more spread out.
Yeah.
But they're not going to do it when we don't know if 500 people or 5,000 are going to show up.
Yeah.
You know, last year, having said all that, we had a good uptick from year one. I think it was maybe 30, 40% growth. You know, and we started out rocky. early on because we didn't really announce the admission right. We talked about that last time, is that we just threw out this like, hey, here's the admission, and people flip their shit. You know, they're like, $120, oh my God, what are they doing? They're trying to rape us. They didn't realize the show went from a 2-day show, 1 night camp out to 4 nights.
Yeah.
You know, and all that. So this year we're doing this special, which is a great value. There's no reason why you shouldn't hop on it now.
Yeah.
You know, be smart. You want to save 20, 30, 40 bucks, do it now. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't have to bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're done. You're all locked in, you're done.
Yeah.
You know.
You can go focus on everything else you got going on.
Exactly.
And then get ready to come to the event.
Yeah.
And so once again, like all the builders for the FXR tour, we kept telling them that, like, you know, the first part of the year is kind of slow. You got, you know, Born Free California, and then you got Sturgis. But after Sturgis, the heat's on. Like, because that's what happened to a lot of us building last year, is that we didn't really, you know, we did all, because, you know, a lot of us are brands, so we need to be at Born Free California. We need to be at Sturgis. And then you come home, and then you have literally 2 months and, you know, a handful of days to get this bike done, to ride it. And this year, I think that they're leaving from St. Louis and zigzagging over to, they'll make it to Dallas for the pre-party, and then the ride into, you know, Yellow Rose Canyon on Thursday. So it's I don't know, the place has so much potential with the space. Danger Dan's doing the art show, which I got to check out last year, and pretty much begged him and leveraged our friendship on him inviting me to let me be an artist this year for it. So I'm going to get to go be a part of that, which I'm really stoked about. And what I think people should do at Born Free Texas is they should lean into, like, making their little campsite area their own party.
Absolutely.
Just like you guys had a little party area where y'all were hanging out. It's like, man, like, you want to ride, cool. Get the old lady to bring, or hey, you're an old lady, get the dude to drive, you ride the bike. Bring some shit. Set up a fucking, like, thing, like cooking, hanging out, fucking put a movie on the side of your van, you know? Like, lean into this and make it to where when people walk around, they want to go check out what the fuck's going on over there. That's the shit that took place at Giddy Up that I feel like if people would lean into that, they would understand why this event has so much potential to be something completely different than what California is. We don't like to use the R word a lot, but it has the ability to be more like a rally.
Absolutely.
Even though that word's tainted in a lot of ways, and especially if you're young. But for the most part, I think it's a good way to assess the freedom that you have in Texas.
Absolutely. No, and the site's awesome. You know, like you just said, people are having their own parties, campsite to campsite, cabin to cabin.
Yep.
And then with the bar, last year we utilized the bar a lot better. We had bands playing at the bar outside in the beer garden. People hung out. I mean, it just you can go to bed at 8 o'clock if you want, or you can stay up till 6 in the morning, and people did. And then, like you mentioned, Danger Dan's art show, which was awesome. Yeah. Seeing that at night, which is cool. The Wall of Death at night, Danger Dan and the Outbound Train playing at the Wall of Death at night. That's magic. I mean, that was badass. You know, that was killer. Last year, there were more people. It looked like a drive-in movie. There was more people everywhere for that thing. I mean, people were pulling up side-by-sides and bikes, and it was 10 times bigger. But we also had it on a schedule so people knew. So it wasn't just some little secret thing.
Like random.
Yeah. And then the bar, we had that fucking strip dance karaoke or whatever it was. Lap dance karaoke, this guy put on. And I mean, it was kind of crazy because I'm like, these people rehearsing? Like, they had a routine going. But people, Doug, it was just something to do. And then, the band's playing and stuff. So, I mean, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I think Danger Dan's doing a build, too. Some kind of poker run build thing where you switch bikes.
Yeah, like you build the bike and then you come down, then you like roll dice or something.
Yeah, and then you get somebody else's bike. Yeah. You trade bikes.
We've been talking about that for years, and I forgot he actually said I saw that he got it off the ground.
Yep.
Hopefully it all comes through, because I think it's a wacky idea that works, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
The thing is there, and we've talked about it before, is that we have so much space, we have so much time, right? You go to California, you get 10 to 5, we open at 8:30, 9, whatever, and then you have to cram everything into that time frame. That's it. There's nothing else. There, it's like you got basically 5 days to do whatever you want to do, And like you said, setting up your own camp, hanging out with your own friends, doing your thing. I mean, the beautiful thing about that place is you can bring your own booze in. right? So you don't have to go to the bar if you don't want to. You don't have to go to the beer garden you don't want to. Hopefully they do to help them out. But you can just, have your homie drive in with a van, fucking 400 cases of beer or whatever you want. Just hang out and do your thing. Like you said, watch movies, ride your bike around, look at shit. Last year was a ton of fun. I mean, I love that show. I have
seemed
way more
less
fun.
stress last
Well,
year.
the only thing that was distressful, and it wasn't nothing to do with you guys, is that you can't bring the alcohol in the bowl because you got to treat it like a bar. Which again, no one knew really, right? We didn't communicate that well on shit. We didn't even really know. So that was the only thing, and it wasn't even a big deal. It was very minor. I like people to have fun. I don't like to tell them no. Yeah. But we had, Oliver had to say no.
Yeah.
But
I like when Oliver gets sassy.
Yeah, I mean, he has a good way of doing it. The guy's a good politician, you know what I mean? Like
I saw him slash tires a couple weeks ago.
He has a way of doing it, but like you're like, you know what? That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
All right. But no, everything went well. I mean, I go out there and have fun. I drove that water truck around for like 3.5, 4 days, which is, I'm shooting people with water, keeping the roads nice and, dust free and just having a blast. Like I had no responsibility. I helped set the booth up. We have great booth workers. It's not California, so it's not that level where it's this insanity from the second we open, but it's manageable. But I love going out there because I don't have to do all the shit that I do in California. I can walk around, drink a beer, talk to people, sit in somebody's camp for 30 minutes and not go, oh, fuck, Grant's probably trying to find me on the radio.
Yeah, when we talked at Born Free, it's like you had to turn down the volume on the thing.
It doesn't stop.
Yeah, just like constantly,
Doesn't stop.
The walkie-talkies.
Yeah, I mean, it's just what needs to be done, and we understand that. It just comes with the territory. But that's one good thing about Texas is that it's not there. It's not there yet. I mean, maybe it will get there. But
I can't imagine that place getting there. I mean, not getting there, but like I can't imagine what that would look like if it looked like Born Free California. It'd be a fucking city.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean the ability's there. I mean they definitely are adding some more stuff. I know Audra and Oliver and them are really hard promoting the show this year. We're trying to get some other dealers, like I mentioned to you before, some other Harley dealers from the greater Dallas area involved.
What about like vendor stuff? I mean, isn't the vendor pricing still pretty reasonable?
We lowered it this year. We actually lowered the vendor price.
People need to like. I was talking to the homies in California because they're like, oh, we want to come out and check out your scene. I was like, come to Born Free Texas, come a couple days early. We'll come to the pre-party at Strokers, ride with us to Born Free Texas. Like, there's no better thing. And if you want to bring your booth and set up and do all your stuff, like, it's not a big hit. You know what I mean?
No, we lowered the price. I think we lowered it $100 or $150 from last year.
Yeah.
We just decided to lower it down. You get a 20 by 30, which is pretty fucking big.
Yeah.
And then you can camp in your space if you want, or you're in the show. You can go camp wherever you want. You want to camp in the woods, you camp in the woods. Otherwise, you can stay in your spot, sleep in your van. But the vendors last year, we got a little feedback, and then they'll share it. It's just, a lot of them didn't do fantastic. But again, it's a new show. You're there. It is more of a rally feel. It is more of a party feel. Are you going to go over there and spend $1,000 on a bunch of stuff? I mean, maybe. Yeah. Some people probably did for sure. But it's going to take time to build that too.
Yeah, and that's why vendor prices typically reflect like that. You know what I mean? If to be a vendor at Black Hills Harley is $13,000 to $20,000 for, of course, that's 2 weeks, right? But there's 500 to maybe almost 1 million people that are going to walk through that thing. Well, at Born Free California, what was the numbers this year? Did y'all get like a Saturday numbers?
It's up there.
So you get those many people. that's worth a lot of money because of that's how that works.
But also, those people are there for a very short amount of time. Right, they got to get everything done. So they're seeing their friends, they're looking at bikes, they're having the beer, they're eating food, they're shopping. Because we do have really good vendors at Born Free.
Yeah.
I mean, I look around, I go through. I want to buy a lot of shit. I did.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of really good vendors, and we have a lot of good ones in Texas. It's just going to take time. We didn't have vendors at any of the Born Frees until 4. I mean, 2 we had a couple. It was Greasy Culture and a few guys. It wasn't a real vendor thing, but it takes time.
Yeah.
Did I mess that up?
No, I was just seeing.
It takes time to build that. So what I would say is bring product or set up, cater to people that are going to be there, and just promote yourself too. You have to do that. You have to let people know, hey, I'm going to be at Born Free Texas. I'm bringing out this shit. I'm bringing out these seats. I'm bringing out these shirts. I'm making a special wallet or jewelry or whatever you're into. Like I'm making this special stuff. Come see me.
Yeah.
They need to take some ownership there too, and tell people that they're there.
You're providing a platform for them to be and you're bringing the people together, but they need to do their job or do a better job at promoting the fact that they're at this place. You know what I mean?
And you have 24, I mean, not they're going to be open 24 hours a day, but you have a good 10 hours a day to be open.
Yeah, I think most people are going to be there for at least 2 to 3 of the days. So the decision or the seeing the product or seeing whatever on Friday, the decision might actually come into fruition on Saturday to come by. Right?
We actually, a lot of our vendors do better at California on Sunday than they do Saturday, because people get there, they're fucking blown away, they're going crazy, they're doing all their thing, they're seeing all their friends, they're trying to take it all in. They might hit the vendors and see what they like or whatever, and then I'm gonna go back, even though a lot of the shit's gone. But Sunday's a very, very good day at Born Free for vendors. But Texas, I mean, shit, if you want to set up your lights and be open till 10 o'clock at night like a goddamn store, do it. Why not? People go eat dinner, they have a beer, they camp out, they take a shower in their cabin RV or the shower house that they have there, and they decide, hey, I want to go shopping.
That's the thing, is like, you can, in my opinion, if you have a 20 by 30, you can set that up and like do a lot with that.
Absolutely.
You can have a small little party there at night or some shit. You don't want to infringe on other people's vendor spaces and whatnot, but like, there's just, be creative. Like, I think that like this place has the opportunity to implement ideas that might be wacky, but that's kind of that's what you need to do. Don't do what, like, I don't know. That's right. I told you I wanted a vendor space because I got all these things turning in my head. I don't even have any sell right now. I'm gonna figure something out. Maybe I'm gonna sell my old t-shirts or something. I don't know, but I want to do something to bring people to it, whether it's to hang or check it out or fucking whatever. Just, it's an opportunity.
Well, this is the cool thing about that place too, right? Is that you can have, where California, even though people do it, it's frowned upon. Like you said, you could set up your vendor booth to have a little lounge, a little hangout, a little party spot. Have your music, have some drinks. People are chilling.
Hopefully they buy some pool in their shit.
They did. Yeah, they did. I mean, you could do any of that stuff, right? Yeah. So there's really, like, can't hit home enough because we're so fucking bound by rules everywhere we go. Is like, it's almost like, stupid as it sounds, it's that freedom. Like, you can do basically anything you want and no one cares. Like, I was in my cabin last year and I heard this motherfucker just rev limiting his bike 2 a.m. Yeah. And I'm like, you know what? He's out there having a blast. It is what it is. I'd like to go to bed, but fuck it. I managed to fall asleep.
It's a mating call.
But it's like, hey, this guy's out there doing his thing. Or the guys with the obnoxious ass horns. Just California, I'd fucking strangle you and tell you to leave. But here, we promote that you can do what you want, as long as you're not hurting nobody and like really pissing anybody off.
I mean, somebody could, might come and say something to you, but
I mean, they did, right? They say, hey, man, it's getting late. Like, maybe cut it out. But what I'm saying is that there's still a little bit of that freedom out there where, most places you can't do that stuff. Where you ride your bike around, take off your fucking shirt, take off your clothes, do whatever you want, have drinks, party camp, meet friends. Like, I met so many people out there, which I never would have been able to because usually we're working behind the scenes. Like, I know I've told you before, all those dudes from like Amarillo area, I can't think of exactly where they're from. Of all those dudes, I mean, met a whole bunch of people last year. And actually they came out to California this year and saw them there. I was like, holy shit, you're the guy with the earth roamer. I didn't even know I'm like, what are you doing out here? So there's that ability too to make some good friends.
It's got its ability to be more of an intimate kind of setting to where you can have less rushed conversations.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I think it's 100%. Like, it's been a great event for us in Texas. The complaining stuff. I mean, we were talking about that earlier. That I feel like that's going to happen no matter what. Especially this year. I think we're going to be right before an election. You know what I mean? So that's going to be we'll see how that.
Well,
that
hopefully
looks.
this will give people. You turn that shit off, man. Turn it off. Tune it out. Turn it off. Fuck it. It's all crazy. It's not even. I mean, it doesn't even seem real.
It doesn't.
I follow a little bit of it. I backed way away from it when we moved out here. I'm like, I haven't watched the news in years since we moved here, but I have caught a little bit because I want to just kind of see. And it's you couldn't fucking make this shit up,
dude. It's like. It's like Idiocracy is coming to life.
Yeah. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. And I get the passions behind both sides.
Same.
I totally understand all that. But this shit that we got here, and these fucking people, these politicians are fucking god awful, man. They're fucking horrible, and chastising one over the other. I'm like, no, you're all the same.
They're fighting about who was a better golfer on this one.
What, you find out who lies more? Anything coming out of your fucking mouth is a lie. Both of you. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane. Hopefully we get through it, and it is what it is. We survived the first 4 years barely. This last 3.5 years barely. I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's fucking. I still think, hey, it's fucking America. The people.
Yeah. Well,
you only take so much. You're gonna wise up on some of this stuff.
The crazy thing is not to turn this political, but if we weren't so divided, I think that we would have a better chance of asking for better candidates on both ends of the fence.
Well, they want it. I mean, that's the way it is. Divide and conquer. They want it divided. That's why the news and the media is set up that way.
Yeah.
That they the thing I always tell people when they get all spooled up, it's like those fucking people on TV would go to work for the other network in 2 seconds if the money was bigger.
Yeah.
And they have.
Yeah.
I know a little bit, like the Fox guy is now at CNN, right? And the fucking Rachel Maddow chick was on MSNBC. She almost went to work for Fox. Like, literally almost went to work for her fucking enemy.
Yeah.
That just shows you. They're just hired guns. They get paid to spew this shit. You know what I mean? It don't fucking matter. And most of the shit they say is lies too. And they don't have to come back and say, oh, we fucked up here, we made that up. Or we got the wrong info.
They have to own anything.
No, it's not Walter Cronkite coming back on the news saying, oh man, we made a mistake yesterday. It's like these people say whatever they want. And it's all opinions.
Yeah,
anyway, it's all
that's why motorcycles or all these, I think there was a debate, like, what was it, last week?
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like these are, like you said, it's a good way to get out of that space for a little bit of time and not think about it and maybe enjoy the last days of freedom that we might have. Who knows? But it just, dude, it's just kind of been it's been a trying year. You had interest rates, you had people just uncertain about a lot of things. Nobody wants to spend money, which makes, I'm not an economist, but like I assume that's also what makes people not, the interest rates go up. There's not enough money being spent.
Oh, absolutely,
like
yeah.
That, so.
I mean, just the inflation, the food and the gas and everything else. I mean, you can't hide it. I don't care what party you're on. I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fucking real. I mean, this shit, it's not sustainable, at all.
It isn't. And I hope that we all wise up and we just kind of get it back on, at least get it back to where they're lying behind the doors. Like, we don't have to deal with it, you know what I mean? And just keep the milk at the affordable rate. And, we get gas goes up and down, but, keep it within, something. Just let people do
I
what
just
the fuck
think
they want to do.
just too people have gotten too political, and it's too much media, period.
Yeah.
Before you had to watch the evening news, you'd have to sit there to catch 5 fucking minutes of this bullshit. Now it's 24/7, all day long, plus the phones, Facebook, Instagram, fucking TikTok, blah, 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 you name it. It's just, you cannot escape it.
Go get on a desktop. Go look at a blog.
Exactly.
Buy some
Born
books.
Loser blog. Get back on the Born Loser. You got to get on there. Get back on your favorite blog. No, I know. You can't put the genie back in the bottle.
There's a lot. Like, I follow a lot of YouTuber dudes that are into photography spaces, and man, the blog conversation's been heavy in that world. Like, a lot of them that are fucking millions and millions of followers are like, this feels gross now, and I feel like they watch my content because I've been saying this for about a year now. But it's like, it's the exact thing I was saying. We can see all these bikes on the internet, but when you hold the magazine and you flip it, it feels different because you're seeing it bigger than that right there, right? It's like those 2 magazines or those like photo zines I just got from you now. It's like, dude, those are rad. Like, I was gonna just ship them home, but I kind of want to keep them in my bag as kind of like a reminder as to what I'm doing on this trip and to reconnect. And instead of like, because I'm so used to shooting motorcycles that if it's on a motorcycle, I'm like, is that a photo or is that just something? Is my mind fucking with me? And so looking at that book, I'm like, oh, it is a photo. I've been fucking neglecting all these things that I've been seeing because I feel like, well, everybody could see that.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing at the shows, not just ours. It's like you see these bikes on Instagram or on somewhere. It's way different when you see it in person.
Yeah.
A whole different sense comes over you. Like, it's weird. Like, I see these, even the builder bikes, I try not to follow too hard when they're building, and I like to see it at the show, kind of with fresh eyes. We have a guy who helps us with the social ed, does all the builder stuff. But I'll see it online and I'm like, it's cool, man. I really like what you're doing. Then you see it in person and I just like get very emotional about it. Like it just gets you. It doesn't even matter if I even like the bike that much. It's just like you start looking at it, thinking about it, what the guy did, what the guy went through, how hard it is to do all this shit, to do it right, and how excited they are about that they made it and it's finished. So, and it doesn't have to be a builder. It doesn't have to be that example. It's just a bike in general.
Yeah.
You know, it's just so much different when you see it in person. That's why when people go, I don't go to shows, fuck those, they suck, hipsters and fags and blah, 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 and these guys are all pretend skateboarders, they don't know what they're doing. Come see the bikes in person and your views will change. That's why you never see anybody, these guys get in a fight in person either. They'll argue to the death on the internet. In person, they're high-fiving each other. Oh, dude, I love your bike. I love it. You know, 2 days ago, he was talking about the pipes were crooked and that guy sucks and using the wrong bolts. Did
you ever hear that story about Big Truth? You know,
I know he is. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so
he was a builder one time.
He pulled the whole Jay and Silent Bob thing where I think he went to like Mama Tried or something and was like checking the dudes that were talking shit online.
Well, that's good. You know, that's good. I mean, it should be.
Yeah.
You know, that was the one thing about Instagram. I know I've said this before. Is when you couldn't comment.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if there was a limit to it or whatever. Man, it was great.
I think socially we weren't adept to putting those kind of things out there. Like, you know, most of us grew up with the whole if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And I don't think people remember that a lot. You know what I mean? But I think when Instagram first came out, people felt it. Like I see shit every day I want to say something about, but it's like it's not adding any value to the world. It's not adding any value to Instagram. It's not adding any value to the person that's going to read it, that it's about its life. The other people that are reading it, it's like it brings no value anywhere whatsoever. So if it's not going to be a positive, like, hey, good job, I'm stoked for you, or you know, not even some backhanded shit like, oh, nice try. Don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
how about just don't care? You know, like, oh man, it's not for you. Just keep on rolling, keep scrolling. Like, who cares?
Why do I have to? You don't have to have. An opinion
you don't
about
have to. I'm on a couple of Facebook pages with some Triumph stuff, desert sleds and stuff. The stuff I like, and I posted a bike that I kind of put together, and this guy said that is the ugliest fucking bike I've ever seen in my entire life. Old guy, just a typical Triumph desert sled, you know, the recipe, nothing special. It wasn't ugly, it wasn't fantastic. I was like, I mentioned it because it was an old race bike, and this one dude chimes in a lot who I really like, and he's very knowledgeable, and he was, oh yeah, that's this, and that. And this guy, and I just like, I wrote out this big old thing, and then I raced it. And then I wrote out this big old thing, and I raced it, and I did it, and then I looked at his profile, and I'm like, looked at his bikes, and I'm just like, you know what, not even gonna do it.
Yeah.
I just said, hey, thanks, buddy. And that was it. You know, you just got to have some restraint. You know, what do I want to get into? Engage with this fucking 70-year-old guy back and forth for a week, jumping on your phone to see if he got back to you or said anything, or, you know, he's going to come to your house and kill you or something. You know, it's like, just don't do that.
It's not worth it, man.
Don't engage. It's not even worth it.
Like, everything you do exudes energy and mental capacity. So it's like, I always feel like if, you know, because like you just said, that back and forth with that person, you could be at dinner with your wife or your kids or your friends, and literally you're not there because you didn't say nothing yet. You're like half-assless. You're in a different world, right? And it's just like, this is robbing you of actual, like, good times that you could be having now, being present to, you know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
I've done it, and I know exactly what you're saying, where you're preoccupied with this fucking thing, and it's like, it's
not a good place to be. And, you know, honestly, if you didn't spend all your days like that, you'd probably be less cranky because you weren't, you know, like you're not.
Well, you know, I'm a lot older than you, but as you get older, you do start to go, you know, your days are numbered, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I want to waste my day obsessing about this fucking whatever, argument, something that happened between a few people? Well, if it's not worth it, man.
Say it on social media, or let's just say Instagram. I guess it'd be different. It wouldn't be different, meaning that they should do it. But if you put a picture of your bike in a group on Facebook, it's kind of like you're kind of, I don't know, like you're putting it out there for some kind of conversation.
For sure.
Right? If I post a picture of my bike on my Instagram or something I did today on my Instagram, yes, maybe. Like I don't know what I want on that. for 12 years of my life now, I've taken a picture and I've put it onto this app, and it's given me things in life, but it's definitely done more positive than it has negative for me. But like I don't like that's my relationship with it. Like you said earlier, I don't really even engage with anything. I post it and I go away, because even that time going the opposite, going to look and see who liked it. Did anybody comment on it? Like, what did they say? Like, how many shares did it get? Like, getting wrapped up in that is just as toxic as getting wrapped up in the other side of it. So, to me, it's just like I have all my notifications off. I post a picture. I'll come back in at some point in the day and check and see if there's a comment that's like a genuine thing that I should respond to, or I'll like a couple of the homies, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to, feel like people like what you do, or be accepted, or like hear, a little positive, whatever. Oh man, cool, love your bike. I think it goes with the person too. I think people, like, I comment on stuff all the time that I don't love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I like the guy, he's cool, like, right on, man, or thumbs up, or badass, dude. You know what I mean? Like, it may not be your flavor, exactly what you're after, but it's just a nice thing,
Yeah.
I mean, it is, people want to be accepted and feel like they're part of something, and I totally get that, and I'm like that too, even though I've seen a lot of shit and been around a lot of people and have a lot of stuff. It's like, I still, that guy did bum me out. And again, Facebook, most fucking toxic place on the earth.
Yeah.
You're in a public forum, but it was like a little private, like, race group of these race bikes, and it was just
That's why I like the old vetted things. Like it'd be cool to have a group where you're being held accountable for like your comments and actions in there. If you start talking shit, like, you're out. You know what I mean? Like,
well, they can't. The problem is that they just, it's a full-time job.
Yeah,
these people can't do it, so it's full-time to be on that shit, monitoring it all. I mean, you would just hope people who join were like-minded, or they just wanted to see cool shit, or like, because there is some stuff that you don't see in some of those groups. A lot of times when you
join groups now, like, there's a questionnaire.
There is, but still they get infiltrated. People do it, and the thing about some of those groups that I like is that it's a lot of older guys, because they do like Facebook, they're not on Instagram, so you get to see shit. Like, I like to look at old race bikes and stuff. You get to see them that you wouldn't see, because the guys didn't even know what the fuck Instagram is.
Yeah, there's definitely some gems on there. I follow a lot. If I get into something and I want to know more about it, Facebook is one of the first places you'll go find a couple groups.
Well, you want to get, you buy an old Jeep or something, you get in some group and you want to find out what fucking, gears are in it, or how to do this or that. And then, you get on there and everybody wants to help you. For the most part, it's pretty good.
Most of the walk-ups to my shop, or the phone calls I get that I choose to answer, ends up being, hey man, I won this bike in a poker game last night, and I wanted to see if I get it running. I'm like, what is it? And he goes, man, it's like a Suzuki. It's like an 83, so blah, blah, blah. I was like, man, you're going to have to join a Facebook group for that. Like, I don't know where you're going to find someone that's like specializing or knows these things. You might get lucky and roll the dice and go to like a Suzuki dealership, and maybe there's an old head there that fucks with those. But for the most part, you're going to have to you're going to have to join a community, and do research. I mean, that's literally what it was like when people would have to like put together old cars, like before this stuff, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's like, you're gonna have to do some research to own that bike that you won in a poker game.
Well, that's how the motorcycle stuff was when I kind of got into it. It was, there wasn't all the internet shit, right? So you had to go to swap meets, you had to go to shows, you had to talk to, I went to all those fucked up shows just because I wanted to meet some people and talk to them, and you start asking questions, and people like to share. So, I didn't know what I was doing on any of it, really. And it was good, but it's not all bad. There's still some good stuff.
You just gotta sift through more shit.
You do.
It's kind of it's like
and just take it for grain of salt. Like, it is what it is. Guy wants to act crazy on there. Who cares? Let him do it. He wants to act like he built the whole thing, which everybody he didn't. Let him do it. Who cares? You don't need to call him out. It's like, it's not worth it.
Just let him live in his fantasy.
Exactly. I still love motorcycles. Everything about them. You not burned out at all. There's times show stuff, it's like, can't take a break. But like, I love seeing people come to my shop all the time. They'll show up on a bike and they're so happy. And I'm stoked that they rode their bike here. It doesn't matter what it is. And that's the good thing about when moving to a smaller town, is that there's not a big group of killer choppers or badass FXRs or crazy baggers. Like, there are a few, but it's just seeing somebody on a motorcycle. It doesn't matter what they're on. And then a lot of these guys ride together. There's a ride coming up in a couple weeks, and it's probably going to be the most mixed up bag you've ever seen in your fucking entire life. You know?
Yeah.
There's like some club guys coming that I know, heard of, and there's guys on fucking sport bikes, and there's guys on vintage bikes, and then there's guys on, touring or off-road bikes, and they're doing this big, 80-mile loop. I'm gonna go on it, and I'm just curious, but they're so happy because there's not really that big of a scene here. So I think maybe they appreciate it a little bit more. And then they're not like going, oh, you can't come, you're on that fucking Honda or Yamaha.
Yeah, you got to take them. All the small tanks got to join it, right?
Yeah.
So that used to be the funny thing. Everybody would talk shit about the Sportster because they had to stop at we got to stop at 120 miles now. I'm like, dude, I don't want to ride at 180 miles straight. What the fuck is wrong with you?
No. 100 miles break every time is great.
Yeah. This is what do you call it? Like a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean?
And I know some the venture guys that ride those big BMWs and shit with the 7-8 gallon tanks, and they boast about how far they go. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Yeah.
I know the bikes are badass and killer and they ride good, but I'm like, I don't want to ride 6 straight fucking hours without getting off my motorcycle. Like, that's the fun of it.
I did a podcast with this dude Chris Hopper who did 100,000 miles in 100 days. He broke the record for all that stuff and fucking did it, right? And he was on the podcast. We talked a lot about all this stuff, and I realized in that moment, because he was telling me about some other friends he has, some of them that have 40,000 in 40 days. Like there's a whole scene of people out there that just smash miles. I think the Hookah Hay guys, all that stuff, and I appreciate that, and I think it's rad as hell. But that doesn't sound fun to me. It sounds fun to me that you're traveling, but you're like, my personal taste, I want to do the traveling with some enjoyment of the areas I'm going to. So a lot of the people that have hit me up on this trip are like, hey man, if you're coming through Cincinnati, Ohio, I want to show you some good rides. And I'm like, man, I don't want to be a dick. I appreciate that offer, but can you show me a good restaurant, a good bar, a cool part of town? Like, riding all over the country, like I don't want to come to a town and then go do this little 3-mile loop or 30-mile loop or whatever. I mean, it just sounds dickish to say because I might want to. It depends on where we're at. But at the same time, it's like, really, I want to see the culture here, the vibe, the city. I came here to.
Yeah, you're like Anthony Bourdain on a motorcycle.
Yeah, I wish.
I know they've talked about that show many times. I don't think it's ever hatched.
Yeah, that was, I think, initially supposed to be the Norman Reedus.
Yeah, which that thing went sideways. I mean, I watched it all. Like I told you before, I watched all that shit, but I wasn't overly impressed with that. It's just too much. But
there's a million opportunities for things like that, the Bourdain show or whatever, to come into the space and like work. But someone has to take a chance.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they got to take a chance and listen to maybe not me, maybe Oliver, maybe you guys, maybe someone that is just kind of in more of that mix. I'm kind of new to this side of the scene, as far as like even the media side of it and stuff, but. Like people just have to take a chance.
Speaking of that, what did you think of that On the Roam?
I loved
Momoa deal.
I thought that, in my opinion, I felt like it was a modern day of kind of what Jesse James did with, I would say Biker Bill up at Monster Garage. It kind of gave light towards like makers and kind of like fringe world that we're all kind of a part of. I felt like the first, up until the episode with Max Schaff and Love Cycles, I thought every one of those episodes leading up to that was like killer, especially the Knives one because Terry down there in Dallas and all that stuff. And but yeah, that one with Max Schaff and then I got a little emotional on that one because I've kind of understand that space that they kind of portrayed through that. But also because like I had just left Todd Blubaugh's house, and that's where a lot of the interviews were filmed. A lot of the writing was filmed right there by his place, and so it was pretty gnarly to do that. But I feel like it has the right intention, but I do feel like if I'm going to be any kind of a critic, like I said, the first 4 episodes were fire, and then it felt like they fluffed the rest to put content in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get the electric car stuff, but I'm kind of jaded.
I don't think I saw that one.
It's electric Rolls Royce.
I think I watched all the ones that I knew
yeah.
people in or whatever, which I thought was awesome. You know, it's like, I'd heard a bunch of people talking shit on it, but it's like, man, you know, nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
I know how much work went into that thing. I mean, I know how much money he spent just on the goddamn music rights.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted it to be cool. And a lot of those dudes who were in the early ones are friends, and I was only happy for them.
Exactly.
You know, they didn't write the thing. They didn't say what they're going to do. They had to do whatever, however it was written. But I thought it was awesome. You know, I thought it was cool. And, you know, Momoa's been around. This is the first time he's ever come to Born Free. He was there. He came on Friday during the day, and he came on Saturday. He was actually going to come back on Sunday, and he was very gracious with everybody. You know, like, imagine that dude. Love him or hate him, you know, whatever. He's only been great to us and me, and I've dealt with him business-wise and stuff. Yeah. He came up, met my family, took photos with them. He did that. Very gracious dude. Yeah. He has very good intentions with that stuff.
So Todd introduced us, and we had a very brief interaction, but because Todd goes, hey, this is Jace. He's the one that does that Fast Life podcast. Anytime you say podcast in the world of just Hollywood in general, it's like, it's like a trigger word, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like, oh yeah, not interested. You know, which is fine. I've always felt like the right people will meet me and see that I'm a genuine dude. Yeah. I ride bikes. I make stuff, and once they kind of like get past like whatever it is about me that they're not into, and realize that what I'm about, then things tend to work out well. You know. I'm not out trying to fuck people over.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know, nothing like that. I'm just interested in shit. And
and you don't have to have the podcast behind your name to, you know, be liked or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hopefully.
You don't need to have that. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I know it's a window in to meet people because you're doing an interview.
It does kind of fast track relationships.
You know, but then you get to know you real quick, and you're like, oh man, that dude's a cool dude. You know, like forget, you know, the podcast is a podcast, but he's not getting rich off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, it's barely scraping by, but he's doing it, and it's a big part of what we're all into, and it's fun. I mean, every time I go on road trips, I mean, when I went to Born Free California, I listened to that Milburn thing, and I mean, you know, killed 2 hours or whatever that was. And like I listen to all of them. You know, even the guys I don't even know who they are, because I want to know who they are. Yeah. You know, I'd see you mention these dudes, I don't know who they are, some of them, and it's cool.
Well, that's what I think the point of like anything, whether it's a magazine or a podcast. The point is to be aware of what's going on out there as much as possible, and try to expose that to the world. Try to, if they want to be exposed, like try to do that. But back to your like Jason Momoa thing, I feel like this dude is coming in, he's spending money, he's having builders build bikes for him, he's showcasing and spotlighting these people. He's using his fame to bring attention to our culture, which ultimately brings more money and opportunity into it. So, you know, regardless of whatever little nuanced thing, I hated the way he was in Fast 5 or whatever the fuck, Fast and Furious. Cool, man, he's an actor, right? Yep. But, I mean, he's like big enough to where you're going to be starstruck if you saw him, but he's not so big that he can't be there.
Yeah.
Like hearing about Brad Pitt when he came to the Born Free that time.
And he was cool too. I mean, he was very gracious, paid his own way in, bought beers. Like he wasn't asking for freebies and shit. Like he didn't sneak in, you know, in somebody's van or whatever. Like he walked through the gate. You know, I don't think people realize who he was because they're just like, this can't be him. Yeah. Wearing all white, you know. But Jason was cool. I had dealt with him. I've sold him several bikes. We've dealt over the phone, text, Instagram, and all, but I never actually met him in person. Yeah. And he was pleasantly, like, I was very surprised. You know, get big hug, handshake, brother, you know, blah, 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 Davis, you know, my man. You know, he's super cool. Yeah. And I know how good he treats those dudes, like Scotty from Cycle Zombies and Max and his little crew. He helps them out a lot, you know, and he's friends with them. You know, and like you said, they're building in bikes, they're finding in parts. Shit, if I was making a bunch of movies with all that fuck you money, I'd be doing the same thing.
Wouldn't we all be doing that?
I'd be buying as many motorcycles as I could find.
Wouldn't we also be bringing our friends into the fold?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's like, I know that there was a little drama over the years with certain people who knew him first and then didn't want to share him with the world.
He was my friend first.
Exactly. But he squashed all that, which I really thought was cool. Yeah. Like, he's like, I'm a fucking grown man. Like, you meet somebody, either going to be acquaintance, hey dude, what's up? Like, good to meet you. Or you're going to, become friends. Yeah. And he's become friends with a lot of those guys. And like you said, I mean, he's helped, having somebody build him a bike or find him a bike or sell him a bike or whatever. I mean, it's helping the whole community out. Yeah. And I like those shows too. I thought Majority was good. Of course, there's always corny shit and everything you do, but seeing your buddies in that stuff and the old bikes. I mean, that's the other thing too, is you're seeing the bike ones. You're seeing cool bikes.
See, I think that like moving into a second season, which I think they did get picked up for,
Yep.
I think, he might have to open his horizons to other things that he might not be as versed or interested in at first, but maybe there's a spark there to kind of like be more. He's gonna have to go to this one being more of a student than an exposer to the world, right? Because like you have a set of hobbies. Can you make 10 episodes about your hobbies? I could probably. I think it'd be a stretch just to pull 10 episodes together, but I could maybe do it with photography, paint, it's all going to be motorcycle related, unless I do a, mid-century modern podcast of all that shit or something.
Well,
like
I mean, he does have other interests, and with help, obviously, you can. But I mean, my whole thing is if it's cool shit, it doesn't have to be motorcycles. It could be anything. If it's cool shit, get stoked out on some fucking hiker dude or, somebody that does something completely out of the space and just focus on that. That's what I like, is just the stories, and then you're shedding light on something that's cool.
That's what's good about like a Rogan style podcast, right? Because he's already famous in that, right? And so when he does a podcast, it's a podcast about everything, as opposed to most of us have to stick within a niche. Because if I start talking, I mean, trust me, I already probably lose audience here and there when I start nerding out on photography or paint or something like that, but I can't just start talking about fucking politics on the podcast. Like today we're talking all about the election. Like people are going to check out, right?
Well, it's good to have a little blend and a little mix of stuff, keeps things interesting, and then it shows that you're not just the one trick motorcycle dude that just talks about FXRs or fucking baggers or whatever, it's like you got other interests. I've listened to your shows, you talk about photography, mid-century modern shit, what kind of place you guys want to have, the stuff that, defines your space and all the stuff. Like, it makes it a lot cooler than talking about exhausts.
Trust me. And
and I'm sure there's guys out there that just want to talk about exhausts.
Well, that's the thing, is that like a lot of listenership, because I've done it. I've done it every once in a while just to see, and you'll see an uptick. It's like so many people just want to spend money. Like, you could do a whole YouTube video about something that's very kind of like Momoa did with the show. This is very like personal, and it's like it's meant something to me to make this. Like I wanted to do this ride for 5 years, and now I finally did it. I want to share with you my experience, and you'll get people that'll watch it, right? But same channel. Today we're doing a review on the Freak Mount motorcycle phone mount system. Fucking million views, right? And it's like, I feel like if people like, look, I'm a capitalist, just like anybody in America. I understand it. But I think that selling people or inspiring people to buy through being inspired is way less cringy than like just influencing people to buy shit, right?
Yep.
So, showing that product working on this trip you did says a lot more than your little 5-minute video of you not even going around your fucking blog talking about that product, right? I've always told people that like I don't have some great spiel as to why I run the products I run, but you see them on every bike that I have, and you see that I ride. So, I always say the worst thing you could ever do, or the biggest statement you could ever make, is to take a product off your bike. You know what I mean? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're putting your money where your mouth is. You're using this shit. You know how it works, and you're not just like. I know there's other guys out there that just fucking sell anything. It's these are the best grips that ever were made. The next day, it's another set of grips. These are the coolest grips ever made. It's like, well, you just said that about the ones yesterday.
That's why it's very important for, I try to tell like a lot of new people getting into the YouTube or podcast or creative space that it's not as easy to make money on sponsorships, because you got to think that, is it worth to take another $500 check from that brand, that grip brand, after you just told everybody that those ones were the best? You're going to lose your audience, and that happens a lot. People jump headset companies, they jump helmet companies. I was running the products. I mean, other than the headset that I run, I met them by doing a podcast. I was running Simpson helmets before they knew who I was.
Yep.
I still run them now, even with one of my closest friends, Scott, stepping down from there. Same thing with like the paint companies that I fuck with, the the Thundermax using their products on my fuel injected bikes since like 6 years before I even met the guys. So it's hard, like when you have, you're trying to be as authentic as possible, and it does get difficult when, like, I do got to figure out how to pay the bills with this, and
for sure,
stuff like that. But it's almost like you just got to take a hit and just have like faith that like the world will kind of, I hate saying the universe because that's kind of a cringe word in certain circles. But when I hold my crystals in my pocket and I squeeze them together like this, but no, it's, what, like anytime if I'm doing, I'm active, I'm moving, I'm staying focused on progression of some sort, things work out.
Yeah. Well, I think genuine people have a way of being able to navigate through all that stuff, right? If you're genuine, you could be a good salesman still.
Yeah.
And you can still sell products and still feel authentic, and people want to listen to what you're saying. You don't seem like a fucking used car salesman, which there's a lot of those guys out there.
Yeah.
Because they're really not genuine deep down, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're just, they don't even have the button in there that goes, is this right? Like, should I do this? It's just, they don't even think twice.
Yeah.
It just is what it is.
And that's part of this whole thing is like, I didn't get into motorcycles to be a podcaster or to, I hate this word, be an influencer of any kind of sort. I got into it to make a living and work on cool shit. And then these other doors opened, and I'm just trying to make the best of the opportunity. The same way I assume that you and Grant are doing with this opportunity with these shows. You got a niche that you're good at. You're good at putting a lot of people in a field and showing them a good time. Like, why not lean into Texas? Why not look at all the avenues as which you can take what you guys have created and make it more accessible, even though maybe that's not the best thing to do?
I've invested 15 years of my life into this show.
Yeah.
In 15 years, I could have been a fucking brain surgeon if I wanted to, or weld underwater, fucking in the ocean. You know what I mean? I could do anything in 15 years if you put if you really do it. And so, we want to continue what we're doing. And, of course, we want to make money at it. It's a fucking business. I have family support and bills to pay and all that stuff. And it's hard, to do what, be in an industry that you really, really like and still be able to make money. I know that's tough for a lot of people. And I think that's why sometimes there's a lot of hate in this world, in this industry, because some people are killing it and crushing it. Some people are struggling. It's tough. I mean, like we talked about earlier, owning a bike shop, whether you're building or even doing service, is one of the toughest businesses to be in. I mean, other than being a fucking restaurant owner. Like, it is tough.
Dude, you saying the 15 years you've been doing the show, in my 20 years of painting motorcycles and customizing them, literally everything you learn and acquire is helpful in the future of running the things you do. But the things change so much now that I'm an airbrush artist. You know how unpopular that shit is now? Nobody's airbrushing bikes. It's like, and if you do, like, I want a Soriyama, I use that because of Oliver.
Yeah.
I want a Soriyama painting on the top of my tank. Cool. Well, it's the only airbrush job I'm getting this year. So, I mean, what is that worth? Like, how much do you charge for that? So it's just kind of but to the point of like the dudes that are hating on new or this, it's like, I had to accept that and figure out how to do what was still going to be able to pay the bills that I still kept me in this thing. So you have to evolve.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing. I understand, like, if you're a chopper dude and choppers for life, and then all of a sudden baggers become a thing, right? Maybe you don't want to lean into that. That's two different sports, right? But this culture is going to evolve, and even though the chopper thing has come back almost full swing, but in the vintage market style, it's also got the attraction of other chopper guys coming back into the fold, like a Billy Lane, and things like that. It's like, you got to adapt. You have to. We were saying earlier, there's so many people that were the biggest names in this thing that just couldn't evolve, or figure out their place to be content with where they're at. And it doesn't mean they had to go build big wheel baggers, but they had to find a way to stay in this some way. I think it's an honor to be able to sit at 20, 15, 30 years of this thing and go, I got the opportunity to make a living off of motorcycles for 20 years. I got the opportunity to do it. I didn't get the blessing. It was a fucking lifetime of work, but you appreciate it more and you love these bikes more. And man, it's like I'm not gonna be able to do shit like that for the rest of my life, and this might be the only time I ever get to do this. And trust me, I wanted to go home last night.
Yeah. Well, like I told you earlier, getting older, you start to see things. I mean, I said a buddy's 50 years old, dropped dead. They found him dead in his house. Like, that woke me up. I mean, I'm almost 55, and regular guy, just brother, his family went over there, he wouldn't answer the phone. Anyway, it's like, holy shit, man.
Yeah.
You don't have a lot of time left. Anything can happen. So it's like, what are we doing? You
know what this trip has done for me so far, and it's only been almost 3 weeks. It's really made me appreciate some shit that I feel like I've been taking for granted at home. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, not so much like my relationship with my wife or anything, but there are aspects that I feel like I've taken advantage of that I'm pretty eager to get back and make right, But I feel like this trip it has a goal or a direction for what I want to create, but the reality is I think it's going to be, because it already kind of is, it's going to be much more of a mental shift.
Anytime I've ever gone on a big ride, you think, freedom, where's the next beer stop? Listening to a bunch of music, just checking out. I'm thinking deep in that helmet, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, what did I did? I should have did this. Like, when I get home, I'm going to hug the kids more, take the wife out more, do this. Anytime I go on a ride, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not just like, freedom, brother. I'm not thinking about anything, but just, whatever. It's like, man, I'm deep thinking. I'm all kinds of shit. And it could be, motorcycle related, family related, wrongs I want to make right, or things I want to do with my life, or realizing like, fuck, man, I wasted a lot of time and put a lot of energy on this fucking shit that I shouldn't, it's not even worth, look at all the time I wasted, or things I didn't do that I should have did because I was all wrapped up in a bunch of junk. So that's one thing I think about motorcycles, that everything's different for different people, but for me, like, that is a big deal of like trying to just make things better on those.
It's just you're finally, I mean, even though you're using all your senses, it's kind of like it's like a sensory deprivation tank, but the opposite. It's like all your senses are firing, so it's like it's causing you to, and you're focused on something, but your mind's able to kind of wander. I don't even know what I'm saying with that. I feel like there's something there.
No,
that
I totally get what you're
back,
saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
It is a strange place to really work out issues in your head, and that's kind of what I use it for. I always tell people, like, I start businesses on road trips.
Yeah.
I forget about them on the next gas stop, and then maybe it'll come back to me on another another leg of the journey. But that's just part of it, man. That's why I love it so much, and I need it almost sometimes,
I've never done the alone thing like you've done. It's always been with guys.
It's ups and downs.
And then I look back. In fact, yesterday my phone, you get those memories. It was like 2019 was the last time we went on a big ride with a bunch of guys that I went on, and see all those photos.
Yeah.
And you're just like, fuck, man, that was so much fun. Even though there was a little bit of drama here and there, a couple arguments and fights, like, and the 3 or 4 guys that I'm still super, super tight with that we went on those rides, we still talk about it. It's like, man, it's never going to happen again.
That's why, and
never going to happen again.
My close friends that I've been traveling the country with for the last 7 years, this is the first year that it's possible we won't do a trip together. And so, and a lot of that has to do with, like, I'm doing this trip, and then some guys are buying houses, and, people are doing a lot of shit, and it's just kind of like why you have to appreciate things when you're doing them.
Absolutely.
Because you never know when it might be the last time.
No,
that's
mean? Exactly right. Just like I said about the guy that passed away, a few weeks ago. It's like, man, we used to be on a bowling team together. It was like, had the most fun ever. This guy was a fucking crack up. I mean, like, one of the funniest people I've ever met in my entire life. Just anytime we talk on the phone, it's just instant laughs, talking about old times and all this stuff. And then, he's not here. Yeah. And that could be you, me, tomorrow. Like, nothing's guaranteed.
Exactly.
Like, man, could have did this, could have did that, could have made it a little bit better. So I'm trying to, like, as I get older, like, pick and choose. My battles, and pick and choose the arguments and the like things. Like, do I really want to do that? Like, do I really want to do that? You know
what I'm finding out on this, and this turned into a therapy session, but I'm really finding out that, like, certain things that I have in my life is enough. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like, I never really put these things in those categories to even consider that they weren't. But maybe I've had them, but I've always been reaching for things, and I'm like, this is actually enough. I'm content with that.
Dude, that's my biggest struggle. You know, it's like I have more than I should have. You know what I mean? I mean, I've worked hard to get it, and I've been, you know, hustled to do all this stuff. But it's like, man, I get chasing more. It's like, fucking enjoy what you have. You got some good shit, and you got some good people, and you got a great family, and like, you know, but I don't know. It's a sickness though. I mean, it's a fucking sickness. You know.
Yeah,
I tell myself, I no more motors. I don't need another fucking bike. I don't need another bike. I don't want to get another bike. I don't want to. I got enough. I got everything I want. Like I look back at bikes I sold. I'm like, that was the coolest fucking bike I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And you know, it's just, but it's. I think it's just that. You know, you want to keep going. You want to keep moving. You want to keep pressing and searching and looking and you know whatever is exciting you. You know, you get to feel like you're in a rut with maybe the same stuff. So it's like, okay. What am I going to do next? What's the next thing? You know, what do I want to buy?
I have to have a goal.
I know.
Like I have to have. I need a direction. Like, you know, obviously I'm on one goal I've had for X amount of months, but I've also had other goals that I've had to put on the side. Like I want to fabricate, but I haven't had time to focus. And it's kind of like working out. Like that's another goal. Is like I want to work out, but I'm like I'm about to go on a trip for 8 weeks. Do you start working out now and then fucking stop? It's like, no, just go be a fat ass on the road. You know. Well.
You know, I know what that feels like, and I shouldn't say that because I've never been like, you know, grossly out of shape or anything like that. I mean, I've been a thinner person, but after Christmas, I'm like, I feel like shit.
Yeah.
Everything is hurting. My knees are hurting. My back's hurting. I'm 20 pounds heavier than I want to be. I wouldn't take my shirt off, like, you know, let's fucking, you know, unless my shirt was on fire, right? Yeah. And I just said, fuck it. I'm gonna start doing this, and it was just like. My thing was 30 minutes a day, no matter what. Yeah. Whatever I can get done in that 30 minutes is all I want to do. And just you go on a trip and you get off as soon as you can get back on.
Yeah.
And it made it more palatable versus like I see these guys who go to the gym, they're in there 3 fucking hours a day, which I don't want to do. Yeah. I don't care about muscles. I just want to be healthy and not feel like shit. But it's just do a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, even on a road trip. Like I was in Born Free and was in a hotel and I got up, believe it or not, 3 mornings early, like 4:30, went into the gym, fucked around for 30 minutes, which just sounds insane.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I felt better.
Yeah.
You know, I felt better. And it's more mental.
Yeah.
It's not even the physical. Like, again, I don't care about fucking getting ripped, yoked, or anything like that. I just want to feel like, you know, you're still young. Get to 55 years old and you've seen people drop dead and, you know, your metabolism really slows down.
Yeah.
And that's when all the shit happens. That's when guys are getting cancer, they're getting, you know, their diabetes is getting really bad or whatever the ailments. You know, you're 75, you're fine, you ain't getting shit. You'll live till you die. But that 50 to 65 year range, that's when all these guys that I know, you know, all the drinking's catching up. Fucking liver disease, all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
So I just decided, not that, I don't know where we got going with this, but I guess my point is, you know, you can do it a little bit at a time and don't feel like it's this mountain you got to climb.
Yeah, that's, you know, also like, you know, doing this aggressive of a trip, if you will. It's like get it out of my system, you know, and I need a year of not really pursuing big trips like this, you know what I'm saying? To just focus on like, whether it's like a build, you know, if something comes my way, or if it's you know, another build that I already have in mind, or focusing on getting some of the fabrication dialed, and you know, hopefully at Born Free this year, Texas will finally have some merch. So that's something that I'm trying to work on when we get back. And it's like, I just need time to do it instead of I'm home for 3 weeks and I'm busting ass to make enough money to hit the road to go do podcasts and do all these other things that I do on the road. And it's a cycle that's fun, and you know, but I think what kind of like it starts to hit is that like in the last year or so, me and my wife have kind of become best friends, right? Which sounds weird to say after you've been married almost 10 years.
I've been married to 25 years.
Yeah.
And the same exact thing has happened in the last year.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It is weird, and that goes back to what I was saying. It's like enough, right? Like I didn't. You know, I thought, but now it's like I really just want to be hanging out with her, you know, and like today at Crater Lake, you know, I've always wanted to check that out, and you're sitting there checking this stuff out, and all I can think about is like, fuck it, wish my wife was here.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. No, for sure, absolutely. No, that's exactly what we've been going through the last year.
Yeah.
You know, it's like all of a sudden it's like, man, we've been together almost 30 years, but something clicked.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's the kids getting older or we're getting older, something's clicked though. Now it's like, oh man, I want to be with her a lot more. Before it's like, oh, I want to be with the guys, I want to go on a ride, I want to do motorcycle shit, go to Japan, go to Milwaukee, do all this, and never included her in any of that stuff. Granted, she was home with the kids, and she's an amazing wife and mother, and never really expressed a lot of interest in it. Wasn't against it, but wasn't like, oh, I want to go. You know, some wives are, I'm going. You're going to Mama Tried, I'm going.
Yeah.
You know, it just wasn't like her thing. But now it's like, man, you know, we've been talking, we want to get, I'm going to sell a couple things. We want to get a motorhome or something like that and start traveling around together more. And even she's even talking about maybe going to Born Free Texas, which she has never gone to that. She's at the show in California. She works in the booth with all my kids, which people don't know because I just don't put that shit on social. But they're there. You know, they have been there since day one.
You know, I use this analogy a lot because not to talk about relationships too much, but like, a year and a half ago, my wife, you know, she likes to go to the Arboretum, check out flowers and shit. And I remember one day, you know, and I have a shit talking kind of personality, like when I'm close with people. And she'd be like, yeah, I want to go to the Arboretum. You want to go with me? I'm like, man, that really sounds like a girl's trip, you know? And not realizing that like she wanted to do that with me. That's something that she enjoys. And she kind of wanted me to lean into like her interests, right? And I didn't really see that at the time. And then once things started kind of like clicking in my head, I was like, you know, I actually want to go. Like, I want to go be as interested in what your interest, like I want to be as interested in that as like I would like for you to be interested in my world. Because I want you to be at Born Free and these events and Sturgis and all that with me because I like being around you.
Yep.
But I also, you know, I'm realizing like, oh shit, like I should probably go do the stuff she likes too and stop being a selfish prick. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
That's kind of
I mean, you know, like I've said before, people are into what they're into and they're just passionate about that as we are about bikes.
Yeah.
You know, and they could talk about that, whatever they're into, as much as we talk about bikes. Exactly. You do a whole podcast on motorcycles for the most part, riding and building and all this. It's people that are into fucking, you know, collecting marbles. You know, that are just as crazy about finding, hopefully this mic's not too close. Good. You know, same shit, you know, so I totally agree with you.
Yeah, so that's kind of been the kick, and it's about a year and a half now that we've been on this, and I mean we've still had some fights and shit like that here and there, but for the most part it's just like progressively gotten better. It's like it's almost as if putting energy into that, it gets better the same way if you put energy into your crafts and all these other things. Like it just goes to show that you put any amount of attention and effort into something, it'll make it better.
Absolutely. You know? No, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Well, so come to Born Free Texas and
get marriage counseling.
Work on your relationship. Try not to ruin it there. So.
No, it'll be good. No, man. Well, I appreciate you coming out here. I know, you know, being on the road. I mean, I'm jealous that you're out there doing it.
Don't be.
You know, one of these days I'll get back to doing it, but. You know, I'm planning a couple little small rides with some buddies around, you know, one here and then one in California, but those are memories. I mean, you're making some memories right now you're never going to be able to forget. And, you know, one of those days, you know, you rode from fucking Texas to California to New York to Sturgis or whatever the route is. I mean, a lot of people could never do that, you know, and there's people that, you know, get their fucking leg blown off in the military and just dream about what you're doing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and just like,
trust me, I've seen...
Or people that are stuck in an office staring at a computer wanting to kill their fucking boss, but they have to pay the bills and the mortgage and the kids and everything else, and they're going, fuck, this guy's out on a goddamn motorcycle, a cool chopper, FXR, going to neat spots, you know.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's a perspective that you got to have, you know, but, and that's kind of why, like, you know, last night I was kind of ready to give up, but I have a hard time, like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm almost willing to die proving to people that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do, even though I kind of want to go home right now. But I also kind of have some other shit that's...
Yeah, but you got nothing to prove. I mean, you know, I get it. You know, you want to do this trip, but on the other side of it, you have a beautiful wife waiting for you at home, and you got to, you know...
if
you know, you just did what most can't even do.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Well... Once I get to the plains, if it's riddled with thunderstorms, if
a U-turn,
if the weather is, or just the universe again, is just not making this path easy. It's making it look like a beat. Like the easy path is home. Then I'm gonna.
Dude,
I'm gonna
there's
use
a
the
movie
signs.
you're good. You're too young, so you probably won't like it. It's called Walk in the Woods. It's with Robert Redford and Nick Nolte. When they're both fucking old.
Oh.
And this came out like I don't know 8 years ago or something like that. And they want to go walk the. Robert Redford wants to go walk that not the Pacific Crest Trail. What's that other one that goes from like Maine through Georgia and Tennessee?
Not the TRT one. There. That's a Trans-American.
Yeah,
Trail?
no, it's one of those big
Yeah.
trails or whatever.
Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, the Appalachian Trail. Yeah, exactly. And one guy's real successful, and this is his old college buddy or whatever. Anyway, they get together. I'm old, so I like this shit. And they go on this thing and they want to walk it, and the one guy's super determined to do it. Anyway, they end up not finishing the whole thing. So you got to watch it, but it's kind of like your story. It's like it's enough. They went far enough. They had enough experiences, enough good, enough bad, or whatever. And they're getting older, so it's like a old man kind of
I'm into
feel.
that kind of shit. So.
But it's funnier than shit because I can relate. It's funny. But they were going to do the whole thing. They didn't do it.
Yeah.
And it was like Robert Redford was the leader. He was fighting the whole way, and then he got to a point. He was missing his wife too, and he's like, you know what? This is it. I've done it. I've done enough. And he went home. So kind of like your journey. So if you go home and don't do it all, don't feel bad.
Yeah.
Well,
no matter what, I'm gonna go to Sturgis. So even if I go home early, I'll end up fucking dipping up to Sturgis. But today on the ride up here, I was like, I wonder how much tickets are to go fly someone to Sturgis. 'Cause I always thought they were like astronomical. And from Dallas, it's not too bad. So I'm probably just gonna. I already talked to her on the way up. She's down, so I might just buy her a flight to go up there. That way, I'll be able to meet her there, and we'll be able to have a weekend together there. And then I'll be home.
Where do you stay when you're out there? You camp or you got buddies?
So I have a group of buddies that usually they throw a big party that we get invited and a lot of our homies come to. It's usually on Friday it's usually Saturday or Sunday. But I usually only go to Sturgis to do the FXR show. If I get there early enough, I'll do rides, but I've done it every year for the last almost 10 years. So to me, it's more like I just want to say I was there. Same thing with y'all show. Like I want to be there so that I can be seen, so that I can see them. And everybody knows I'm still alive and we're still a brand, and then I'm going to go back to work. And that's old Dave Perwitt's advice.
Yeah.
So.
Well, probably a good guy to take advice from.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
But no, I like I said, Sturgis and Born Free are my two that I want to say that I've been to each one. And since I started going, I've only missed one of y'all's. So.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Wish I would have known you earlier, but you know how that is. Like,
Tom, dude,
sometimes it's timing.
If I would have had some opportunities that's come my way in the last 2 years, 7 years ago, I would have fucked them up 100%. You know what I mean? Like, once again, the crystals in my pocket. It just being on the path, the right people you'll cross paths in time. Like I could be up top Blue Ball's ass right now. Like, dude, I really want to do a podcast with Jason Momoa. Can you really put me on? Or many other people that I want to get to know, but I feel like if we get to know each other on mutual terms, then I don't have to come in and prove myself.
No, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to prove yourself. But timing's everything, right? It happens.
For sure.
You don't need to force anything.
All right. Well, I got to get on the road.
Hit the road, but like I told you before, anything you ever want to do at Born Free, man, you're more than welcome to do it. Set up shop. Any idea.
Yeah.
We're always looking for cool people to come up with new ideas, and no matter what the internet says, we're fairly easygoing with that stuff. So and all the guys out there, Oliver and his crew are awesome. Mm-hmm. The other thing too is about Yellow Rose, and we'll go is that our event is their biggest event, and they are trying to make money at that place, and they've spent a lot of money rehabbing it. With the cabins and the fencing and the plumbing, it's a fucking work in progress. I mean, that place is a nightmare.
Yeah.
They didn't get it in the best shape.
Yeah.
And having a property that big, so. Coming to the show isn't just supporting Born Free; it's supporting,
Yellow Rose,
and everybody's involved with that stuff. And they're the nicest people.
Yeah. Well, when you reinvest into the scenes that you want to be a part of, then those scenes get better. So you look at going to Yellow Rose and supporting this event. Even if you go to his Southern Throwdown event, there, like it's putting money. You're spending the money that you're probably going to spend anyway, whether it's at Chili's or at the event.
Yep.
So just put it back in the motorcycles. At least it's going to come back into making opportunities for you to have something to do, or whatever. Maybe one day your best friend becomes a builder at one of these things,
Exactly.
or you do, or whatever, and you're paying it forward by supporting all these events.
Yeah, you support your friends, and I mean, it's important, So that's the takeaway is like, hey, it's just not just us.
Yeah.
We want them to do well. I mean, they invested a lot of money in that place, and they spent a lot, and it needs to thrive, regardless of our event, if it's another event there, or somebody else hold an event there.
Yeah.
Like it's when we get a relationship with people that we really believe in, and we want them to do well.
Yeah, 100%. You want everybody to rise.
Exactly.
Well, cool. So,
all right, brother.
Next time I see you will be in Texas, and I'm excited.
We are too. So
it's like 2 worlds away from me now, though. 2 other lifetimes. It feels like. So
it's gonna blink of an eye. It's an unfortunate part, and it's gonna be October, and I'll be like, oh shit, it's time to go.
Here we go again.
But we still got a lot of plans. We got a lot of new stuff, and we'll keep everybody posted on that. And I appreciate.
Like I said, I'll put this out right when we get back from Sturgis. So early August. That way people can start.
If people ask you too, like, tell them, hit us up. If they go, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do that, just say, hit them up. I mean, we're reachable. Give them my phone number. Tell them, message me on Instagram or give them an email or whatever. Pretty much you get back to everybody, unless someone's being like a complete nut.
Yeah.
But show's in its infancy, and anything goes, and if somebody wants to, like I told you, get involved or do something cool, like it's there.
Yeah. Maybe you might not be a bike builder or a Danger Dan, whatever he is.
Yeah.
He's just Danger Dan. But maybe you can bring people together. Maybe you have that in you to bring the right flavor, the right party, the right something to this party to make it better, to where, maybe you'll find something different in you that you can pursue. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike. And one day I got to do a podcast with Grant just to balance it out. So.
Yeah. Well, do it with him.
I'm gonna just linger towards Grant the whole Born Free Texas thing. He's like, hey man, we gotta be friends now.
No. Yeah, it'd be fine.
All right. Well, thanks.